Hello, everyone. Welcome to Negative Modifier Book Club, Negative Modifier Reads, or we've yet to really figure out a name for this. Nonetheless, my name is Jad. I am joined by Charlie. We are reading, by Charlie's recommendation, Shadow Hunter by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, published in...
Soul Hunter.
Shit.
Jad, we are talking about Soul Hunter.
Soul Hunter by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, published in March 2010 by Black Library Publishing. For a book that is 14 years old, this actually was quite an enjoyable read. It might need a little bit of additional homework when you are going through it, because as somebody whose experience with Warhammer 40k is primarily flocking diorama tiles and attempting the tabletop RPG with one of the worst crews I have ever experienced back in like my freshman year of college, I had no idea what the fuck anything was outside of what I gained through osmosis of when Charlie was talking to us about Warhammer 40k.
So, and there actually is a very good reason I picked Soul Hunter for our tabletop RPG book club. There is a very good reason for this. It's not because I just actually genuinely enjoy the Soul Hunter series. Not Soul Hunter, the Night Lords trilogy. Yeah, this is book one of 3 books. It's interesting. I think of the 3 books, the second one is the best book. The third one is the obvious conclusion of the trilogy, and it has some really cool stuff to it. But Soul Hunter is the important one for this conversation. And I will go in kind of deeper depth into this later on. There's actually this is not just, I'm going to force more Warhammer 40,000 lore on all you. This is a very deliberate choice for a myriad of reasons and topics within the tabletop RPG space that I've seen people kind of talk about every once in a while. And there is a method to my madness. Don't worry on this. That being said, I know a lot about Warhammer 40,000 lore. I know maybe too much about Night Lord specific lore. So I will try my best to kind of keep conversations about this to just what's in the book. And if at any point you hear me say, actually, or drop into a voice like this, I'm probably going outside of the confines of the book, which I will try very hard not to do, because part of why I picked Soul Hunter is I think it's one of the few 40k books that just works as a book. You don't actually have to know the rest of the setting around it. You pick up not all of it, but enough for the book to overall make sense throughout just by reading it. And I want to talk about that in more detail later, because it is a whole topic in tabletop RPGs that kind of, I think, deserves some exploring, and I think the book does it unbelievably well. But yeah, if this is your first book club, welcome to our discussion of Soul Hunter. I will probably be doing lots of bad Russian accents this entire time, because the audiobook for it is amazing.
Oh yeah, it's not even that bad. It actually sounds it sounds solid how it's Nostramus or Nostramo. Nostraman is translated as like kind of a Russian accent or a Slavic accent or whatever have you.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like, I'm getting ahead of myself, so I think it's important to talk about this before we dive into this. Prior to this book, there really wasn't a lot of Night Lord lore. This is the book that started the Night Lords being anything but the weird, bad space marines with the skinning fetish. This trilogy, or specifically this book, but like the entire trilogy, is the backbone and base for almost all of the lore the Night Lords have. This is the first major, like, big lore drop the Night Lords got, period, in some ways. It is a bizarrely important book for I don't want to say beloved, because the fans of Night Lords take pride in the fact that you can only be an ironic Night Lord fan because of, well, just how ghoulishly comically evil they are at the end of the day. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Like, there's, in kind of the context of the Black Library, which is the kind of expanded book lore stuff of Warhammer 40,000, Soul Hunter and the Night Lords trilogy is kind of unique and special because it's the origin of a lot of lore, weirdly enough. Like, a lot of concepts, like the whole concept of the Long War and shit like that, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, kind of come from this book, actually. The Night Lords were just kind of an existing, yeah, they exist, they're fucking Conrad Kurze's army. What do you want to do about that? And this gave them some personality and flavor and stuff like that. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's talk about Soul Hunter, a Warhammer 40,000 novel about the Night Lords.
Quick sidebar. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Henry Cavill's like weird Amazon project is like Warhammer 40K Amazon project is like Night Lords, is Soul Hunter related or something
it's
like that?
It's not. I would be, if I was a gambling man on this topic, it's fucking Eisenhorn. Like, there is a, I don't like them, which is why we didn't do it for this, but there is a similar book series called the Eisenhorn franchise that deals with Inquisitors and stuff like that, that if you were trying to make a TV show about fucking anything in the Warhammer universe, 40,000 universe, that's the book. That's the book series you do. Like, it covers everything. It's got a little bit of everything. Like, it literally exists to force feed you, the reader, the setting and kind of the weirdness of it and what makes the setting cool and shit like that. The Night Lords trilogy does not really care about you learning about the setting. It wants to teach you about the Night Lords and their kind of unique perspective on things, and maybe turn you into someone that says stuff like, you know, Conrad Kurze had a couple good points. Very ironically, but you still say it because you're a jackass.
I think that would, honestly, I think it was kind of neat in the sense that it just dropped me right into the setting of the world. It was a little frustrating because, like, what the fuck is a Primarch? What the fuck? Why are navigators so special? Like, what the fuck is going on?
So, and this was written back when what the fuck is a Primarch was a valid question.
Or Primarch's not like a new thing.
They've been around for a while, but like them being defined and clear and like well thought out is relatively recent. This was one of the first books to kind of go into more detail about the Primarchs. I'm not going to totally say this is one of the first ones, but like, this is one of the first books to address Conrad Kurze as an individual. There's also a book specifically about Conrad Kurze, and then there's a really fun kind of quick novel called Lord of Crows, or Prince of Crows, that's about the kind of second in command of the Night Lords, a guy named Sevatar, who, like, again, you got to rewind almost 20 years and put this book in the context of most books are about the good guy Space Marines. They're not that well written. It's a lot of kind of one-sided battles. This is the start of adding some nuance to the setting in a more major way. Maybe not the start, but kind of like a high point of it. And this is a change. This is, hey, we're going to give a faction that like has existed since the beginning, but doesn't really have a lot of lore. 3 full books, because they were well written and interesting and kind of added some interesting stuff to it. Like
it's an open playground. I mean, like, especially with like an undeveloped like entire faction, you got a lot of stuff to kind of work with.
Yeah, and it's an important thing within the greater confines of the kind of overall setting. And I'm bouncing around some because I like talking about the Night Lords. It deals with a chunk of the bad guy side of the kind of 40,000 universe that doesn't get a lot of attention because it doesn't work that well in the tabletop setting, which is what's referred to as renegades, where they're not good guys, but they're not totally on the side of chaos either. They're just often kind of evil or like just space pirates. And the idea of like, hey, what the fuck's a space marine space pirate? Like, it's a Night Lord. It's a fucking Night Lord. That's what they do. They're super powered space pirates is what the Night Lords are at the end of the day. That's a cool ass concept in my book because it's ridiculous and over the top. And like, you have we're selling our souls to Satan, or we're like child soldiers brainwashed into being referred to as angels. And then you have this third group where it's like, we've been around for 10,000 plus years and saw how all of this bullshit started. You're wrong. You're also wrong. Fuck all y'all.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot the fact that like they are like fucking old. Just because it's like, all right, cool, we've been here since the Horus Heresy. First and foremost, what the fuck is the Horus Heresy?
Unimportant.
Okay, cool.
Incredibly important, but again...
Wait, did you say unimportant? Okay.
Incredibly important in the grand scheme of things, but arguably unimportant in the grand scheme of things simultaneously. It is the most annoyingly important short period of time in the 40K setting that like sets a bunch of shit in motion, but also for the majority of Warhammer 40,000's existence was this kind of vague, hand-wavy explanation as to why you had good and bad Space Marines.
Okay.
It has only recently gained an annoying amount of lore, and I, along with lots of other people, are like, maybe you should have kept the Horus Heresy a bit mysterious. Like, it's cool that some of the Primarchs were coming back, and we got some lore on that, like the Lion coming back and Rabute Gilliman coming back. That's neat, but also, like, they were kind of more fun when they were like, maybe they existed, maybe they didn't. No one knows what the fuck a Primarch is. Maybe Conrad Kurze is still alive. We don't know. It's all mysterious.
All right.
Yeah.
Secondary sidebar. Have you read Lord of the Night? I just found out it was written by Cy Spurrier, who is a comic writer that I really, really dig. He's written a lot of like Hellraiser and stuff. Or Hellblazer with fucking Constantine. So I just saw that and I was like, ooh, okay, cool. Because unfortunately, this book has me interested in consuming more Warhammer 40K literature. I think I want to like dick around with like some orc stuff just because orcs are funny to me.
There is an if this does well and people like that, there is a very good orc series that I think captures the orcs well. Is Lord of the Night the Conrad Kurze book? What's it called? Lord of the Night
Warhammer 40K. It's published in 2005. The fact that it's just written by Simon Spurrier is the reason why I'm just like intrigued. Otherwise, I'm not 100% married to the idea of reading it, you know?
Not read Lord of the Night. This is from the older days. It might be good though.
Okay, cool. So that's not something that like, it's not a priority for me. Yeah.
Based on the quick blurb I'm seeing for this, and wow, we should probably get to the book rusher to talk about. This is from the era where you did not get lots of books, and judging off the logo slapped on this as well. This is from the era where you got books that were about other factions from the Imperium's perspective, typically involving the Imperium curb stopping some invented for that book named character or faction type of thing. Like this is the joking era where like lots of chaos lords are like, oh, they've destroyed 10,000 systems, blah 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 blah, and then like one plucky inquisitor manages to take this person down or something. This is before things kind of got balanced out, and I'm not saying the bad guys are winning, but the bad guys got to win in their own books at least.
All right.
The overall setting of Warhammer has gained a lot of nuance in the last few years. That's not fair. A little bit longer than that, but like starting, I'll say like probably 10, 15 years ago is when the nuance began, and kind of the people holding the reins realized that like maybe we want stories that aren't about the fucking Ultramarines and how cool they are and how great their plot armor is. Maybe we want to hear about Talos.
Anyway.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, I think this book was great in that it immediately gives us our kind of...
Jad, we have a structure. We need to do our summary first. I get it. We want to dive into this. It's a weird-ass book. Yes, if this is your first book club, they're not normally this sporadic. We're just kind of excited about this one in a weird way. We'll do a summary. We'll then kind of talk about what we liked and didn't like of the book, more discussion style, and then we'll get into the tabletop RPG-ness of it. I'm also well aware that we are several minutes into this episode and we've barely talked about the book in more kind of its place in Warhammer and Warhammer in general. My apologies. I really like the Night Lords trilogy, and I think, and for reasons I will talk about later, I think it's actually a very good, specifically for game masters, but also overall for players, not a bad book to read to kind of understand how to do certain things in tabletop RPG and larger storytelling. Because I think this book, despite it has some shortcomings, I'm not saying it's perfect. The Night Lords are not deep characters. They are not. I will never call them such, but I do think it actually has a lot more going on than it gets credit for. But
oh yeah, my character notes are like a couple sentences long per character. Yeah.
Let us begin with the kind of the opening of this. You get an interesting perspective where the story of the book is told from primarily three characters' perspective. You have Septimus, Octavius, aka what was her original name, Eurydice,
Mervalian.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yes. And Talos, our Night Lord stand-in. There's a couple other perspectives you get every once in a while for kind of fleeting moments, but these are our three main perspectives. And the book opens up with Septimus, who is Talos's a variety of fancy, polite names for it exists, but fucking slave. Like, he works till he dies for Talos.
Oh, I researched this. Apparently he's a chapter serf.
He would be if the Night Lords were loyalists still.
So that's a specific name for Emperor aligned people.
No, but
okay.
Also yes. We need to get through this, but like, as you may have noticed, the Night Lords aren't big on a formal structure.
All right, cool.
Literally, Septimus's name comes from the fact that he is the 7th serf that Talos has had in that job. Like, a little bit in, we get the explanation of what has happened to all of Septimus's predecessors, and the answer is they either died of old age, Talos killed them, or they mutated horribly because hell is real in this franchise, and they have to travel through it to travel faster than the speed of light. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Our introduction is with Septimus. He's kind of standing outside Talos's door. Talos, in kind of our first introduction to Talos, is racked with visions or something that's really causing him in armor to beat his head against the inside of a spaceship so hard he is deforming and denting a spaceship. Like, that's how much pain these visions cause Talos. And as part of this, we get introduction of one of his battle brothers. I think it's Syrian, I think is one that shows up then. Yeah, it's Syrian, I'm pretty sure. And we get an interesting introduction. We get kind of the idea that, like, the Night Lord spaceship is pitch black inside because the Night Lords, partially because they're Space Marines, partially because they're goddamn Night Lords, just don't need light. There's a lot of fun details throughout this that kind of speak to just how insane not human Space Marines are, but also then on top of that, just kind of how a little bit weird the Night Lords are. And I love the opening of this. I love the fact that it's this ship, it's pitch black. You have a character basically bobbing around with a lantern, a fancy space lantern, because they just don't use the lights in the ship. Like, they don't need to, and they're not going to do anything that helps their serfs out at that point either, because why the hell would they do that type of thing? They're serfs. They're disposable. They're not worth kind of taking into consideration. Yeah, so it kind of a little bit of a lore drop there. We get kind of a talking between Syrian and Septimus. They talk about how Talos has basically been broadcasting his visions and pain over all open radio channels for hours. We get a couple mentions to that.
His inflictions.
Yes.
Or whatever the heck. And then, like, from there, at like, once the visions stop, correct? He's then kind of summoned into a meeting.
Yeah. So he then goes and meets with the Exalted, or Vandred.
This character was a little confusing because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But, like, after a while, it finally dawned that it's like, oh, okay, cool. Homie's, like, possessed. And I don't know if that was, like, an important thing to know immediately, or if it was like, oh, like, as we go along, like, he's possessed by, like, a demon, and that explains a lot.
The answer is, if you know the lore, it's quite obvious what's going on. My counter to that would be, does it actually matter? You just know there's something weird going on.
Well, I guess not.
I'm being serious. Like, does knowing that he's possessed by a demon at first actually matter? You have, that's kind of to summarize the interactions. You have Talos. We get the introduction to the Astromentar, which are kind of like the elite soldiers of this. We get kind of a further explanation of, yeah, Talos is a little bit special. He's got the psychic visions. That's kind of why Vandred / the Exalted keeps him around. Talos is kind of disgusted by Vandred and the / the Exalted. Like, Talos' description of Vandred from Talos' perspective is not positive. Like, it kind of it's a little bit tragic. It speaks to kind of like how messed up Vandred's body now is, like, as he's become the Exalted. Like, the Exalted has made what was once kind of the war room of the ship his throne room.
Oh, Vandred and the Exalted are two separate entities. The entity possessing him is the Exalted. I thought Vandred was just called the Exalted.
Yes.
Because he was exalted. Okay. But the demon possessing him is the Exalted?
I cannot talk about things outside the confines of this book.
God. Okay, cool.
Maybe I'll do some spoilers at the end, but I will say that topic is explored in great detail in the second book.
Okay.
This is a trilogy. It's meant to be read as a trilogy to a certain extent. The other two are very dependent on you having read the first book for a variety of reasons. But yes.
So this is a shut up, just watch the movie question.
Sort of, yeah. But also, like, the fact that you were kind of thinking about that based off of just how weird this all is what it's supposed to be happening. Like, it's one of those ones where, again, it doesn't matter that you know or don't know that the Exalted / Vandrid is a demon captain or is a kind of a chaos champion, et cetera, et cetera. You just need to know that Talos is kind of disappointed and sad and unhappy about the fact that his commanding officer is this, but also, like, he's loyal, as we will learn multiple times throughout the book. Like, he is loyal to Vandrid, and that means doing some dumb stuff every once in a while.
A little late now, but I guess spoiler content.
Yeah, we're talking about a book. Yeah. Yes. We get that. We get a further description of the Covenant of Blood, which is the main ship of this company of Night Lords. It's in surprisingly good shape. It's a good ship by all measures. Most of this kind of opening section is split between Talos and Septimus. Septimus gives us the very human perspective on things. And I will even say kind of like an oddly privileged human in this situation's perspective on things. Like, we get hints at there's a lot worse people to be than Septimus on this ship. A lot of people have it worse than Septimus. And also, we also have Talos' perspective, which is kind of the more, I want to say, lore droppy almost, because I think like Septimus exists to balance out Talos, where Septimus like just doesn't know a lot of what the hell's going on, and Talos is kind of either explaining it to him or making fun of him for not knowing about this, or just knows this shit, so when you're in his head, you get it explained to you as the reader type of thing.
I kind of like the fact that it's like a three protagonist system, just because like Septimus is a savvy person.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like almost like you in that aspect. Octavia is me in the way that I am just kind of new and I just now have to work through whatever. And then Talos, because of the fact that he's an Astartes.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like an Astartes is just so beyond the concept of like regular humans' social norms that he's just fucking doing what the fuck ever. Like, he has his own like specific rule set and like his loyalties and his own specific like codes of honor and whatever the heck.
Yeah.
But just because like he has the concept of honor and the concept of like loyalty doesn't mean it's going to line up with what your viewpoints of like loyalty and honor are going to be.
Yeah, it's important to kind of have the escalation, or I guess cascade in this case, of perspectives. So you have Octavius, who exists to go, Octavia, to kind of go, what the fuck, constantly. Like, she's worked on void ships. Let's catch her before we talk about her too much, I guess. Like, yeah, so the meeting happens. Talos kind of reveals his vision to the Exalted / Vandrid, yada, 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 kind of. We then jump to a rogue trader who gets his shit kicked in pretty quickly by the Night Lords, jumping in out of warp and blowing up his ship. It's a nice kind of little demonstration of like, yeah, the ship that exists that this guy has is, by all measures, a formidable ship. It's modern, it's powerful. The Night Lord's ship is just better in every conceivable way. Like, it's one of those ones where, does it need to rip the ship apart in 1 minute? No. But there's lots of kind of nice hints about void warfare, kind of like what the Night Lord's about. Like, the descriptions in this part of the book are very surgical. Like, it doesn't talk about them getting shot. It talks about like it flaying chunks of the ship off, like targeting specific parts of it. Like, I think it even like refers to the phrase like it's like it almost sounds like you're cutting something apart that shouldn't be cut apart. And I really love that description because it kind of reinforces this weird idea that like the Night Lords aren't totally normal when it comes to how they fight and stuff like that. We get our first example of that where small crew goes down to intercept Octavia, who it turns out is a navigator, which is by all measures, a mutant that has the special power to travel through the warp, aka the hell dimension, that lets faster than light travel happen. We get a whole explanation of that briefly from the rogue trader, and the Night Lords want her for reasons.
Can I just pop in real quick?
Sure.
Just to talk about like the scale of like the ship, the Covenant of Blood.
We're gonna talk about that in a minute or two.
Oh, I know, but I just think, especially just because like now that I know, because I didn't realize how fucking gigantic these ships are. The concept of like the Covenant of Blood just coming out of warp and then just cheese gratering like a rogue trader ship, which I don't have a sense of scale to that, is so funny to me. Just because it really does feel like, oh, somewhat like there's a roach just in your way, step on it, and not even like kindly lifting your foot or doing whatever the heck, but like it's getting stepped on and then smeared across the pavement.
Yeah, so you may not have totally picked up on this, and we'll get to this in a second. There is a literal city inside of the Night Lord ship.
It took me like the second read to realize, because I'm just now, because after a while I was just like, how is the throne room so big it could fit a dreadnought?
A, because it's designed for a dreadnought. B, there is a literal city in the underdecks of the Covenant of Blood. There is potentially several million people that live in darkness in the underlevels alone of the Covenant of Blood.
So funny.
Yes, the Warhammer 40,000 franchise is not known for its sensible or practical or consistent scales on anything. But I guess to kind of put it in perspective too, there's a decent chance on the Rogue Trader ship, there were a few 100,000 people that lived on that thing potentially too. Maybe not, like it could be a smaller Rogue Trader ship, but like most spaceships in 40K are giant, massive things because the logic behind them is, why would I build a bunch of small ships when I can build one really giant, fuck off, huge ship and move lots of stuff at once? Because again, our faster than light travel requires us to punch a hole into hell.
That's so conceptually funny and just so wild that people are just like, fuck living on a planet. Every so often I might have to journey through hell and some shit just happens, but like I at least have a house.
No, and like we even get some perspective from Septimus. Like when they go down to grab Octavia, he has a line about how it's like, he's like, it's nice to be seeing a horizon again for the first time in a few years.
Horizon? Oh my god. Okay, anyway, so Octavia gets kidnapped because, hey, she was like the person that was on apparently a chunk or like a meteoroid of their home planet that blew up.
Yes, and we will get to that in a little bit. Conrad Kurze is not a man of half measures.
So I was like, all right, cool, fucking last son of Krypton, like let's fucking go. But she gets kidnapped and then taken on the ship and is forcibly surgically altered by stapling her fucking forehead shut because she has a literal third eye.
Yes,
not stapling, but like there's a metal plate.
They put a removable plate on to stop her from killing lots of people intentionally or by accident. Like it's so, and they explain this pretty aggressively. Octavia is dangerous. The whole third eye thing, it's incredibly potentially dangerous. Like looking at that will kill you or worse in this setting. Like it is essentially a portal to the hell dimension I keep mentioning, and I'm not extrapolating. They kind of straight out say that as part of this whole set of conversation. Like there's literally a gateway to hell in Octavia's forehead that can be weaponized as she tries to do, and as part of the kind of abduction thing, you get the hint at just kind of, let's actually talk about the fight for a quick second, because you get this weird kind of like sarcastic combat maneuver out of the 4-1s that go down. And like, they're good. They are surprisingly good at fighting for kind of how casual they are about it. And like, Talos beats a bunch of people's asses with his eyes closed. He's dressed in power armor, which probably makes it a little bit easier. But like, remember, he fights people without looking, with his eyes closed, because he doesn't want to go insane when Octavia looks at him, type of thing. But yeah, they grab her, get the metal thing on her head.
Was that the first mention of, I guess I need to do the voice for this, death sight or something like that?
No, that comes later. The prey sight comes later.
Prey sight, there we go.
Prey sight, yes.
Prey sight.
I only have a note called dumb things I like, and one of them is just the word prey sight, yes.
There's so many dumb things that I love in this book.
So great, yeah. The Night Lords are fun, yeah. So that happens. You then kind of get a little bit kind of tourism of the ship. Octavia's kind of perspective as Septimus leads her around and informs her that, like, yeah, she's now under the protection of Talos, and she's important, and yada, yada, yada. And this is when you kind of get this weird Night Lord nobility thing going on, because they go down to process a tad out of it. They go down to kind of the lower decks, like the black market. I think it's called the black market, the dark market. The market on the ship where all the kind of non-space marines hang out and conduct business and live. And like they give a medallion to the Voidborn child. That's a special child. It's the first one to be born on the ship and forever, basically. And you get kind of this like weird perspective of like, it's not a good life, but like hundreds of thousands of people live on this ship and it's their world, for lack of a better phrase. Like they are, in Octavia's perspective, straight up traitors to the Imperium, which is true, but also like, this is maybe the only life they've ever known. This is their home. This terrible dark ship.
I resonated with Octavia because I'm not saying that like that was my visits to like non-California. But there are times where I'm just like, what? You live like this? What do you mean?
Octavia is incredibly important because kind of like Septimus exists for people like me where I'm like, yes, I do recognize the things they're referencing. I get what's going on. Octavia exists for people to be like, what the fuck is going on? None of this is normal. I need an explanation now about this dumb bullshit. And then she gets it. Like, we then, so kind of to speed through some events, the next kind of major thing is that we then arrive on a planet that Talos has some visions about, and we meet, and we get some nice we get the whole Void War thing, which is pretty goddamn cool. We get the kind of explanation that, turns out the Exalted / Vandrid's a bit of a savant / badass when it comes to space fights. Like, the dude is good. We get some really cool action of, like, the Night Lords doing some real dumb punching through holes with drop pods and killing a whole bunch of people and being Night Lords and blowing up some shit. And that's when you get Prey Sight, when they bust into the bridge of that one ship and tear gas smoke bomb the place. And, and you get dumb sentences of Talos saying shit like, Prey Sight, and then just Predator vision, and then him killing like 100 people effortlessly. And I think the action in this book's a lot of fun. It's not boltery porn. It's very visceral feeling. It's lots of people in power armor getting up close with knives and swords and just like ripping people in half because they can, and that's kind of what they enjoy. Like, there's no fake nobility about it. They're just like, I'm here to have fun, and fun in my book occasionally means grabbing someone's skull out of their head and then beating their friend to death with that same skull. This is not a bad spot to go into some of our kind of supporting characters. The other Night Lords, you've got Uzas, you've got Septimus. They're the kind of main ones at this point. Like, and they're just kind of, they've known Talos forever, and there's bad inside jokes. You get kind of further, I said Septimus, didn't I? I meant to say Syrian.
I was going to say Uzas, of my weird favorite like side characters, is one of my favorites.
No blood, no skulls.
I mean, like, definitely, like, kind of little dimwit. I mean, like, all of them are kind of dim-witted, but him especially. Well, no, Uzas is just definitely a little dim-witted, but it's also just one of those things where I feel like he's just the berserker character, where he's just like, all right, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but
we'll get to why he's important in a second. But yes, he is the berserker character. Throughout the trilogy, he goes from kind of like, oh, haha, it's the berserker character, to Uzas may be one of my favorite characters in the entire trilogy.
Okay.
The final book does some stuff with him. The second book, I guess to kind of go outside the book we read for a quick second. The second book talks about why they all hate Uzas so much. And it's because before Uzas was all obsessed with his blood and his skulls, he was a philosopher and a nurturing person and like had long philosophical conversations and was like the soul of the team.
All right.
And to have this person that they've known for literally thousands of years reduced to this teeth-sucking, bloodthirsty Nimrod hurts all of them.
That's so funny.
But that's not within the confines of the book. There are some hints about that where, like, there's a reason they put up with him. Like, they're not inside this book, but it's expanded upon. Like, this is a group of people that have been together for literally millennia, and, like, they're kind of their only friends left at this point, and, like, they're not going to kick Uzas out just because he's not the Uzas they were friends with, because they don't have that many friends left, as they kind of keep going back to. Like, Talos's refrain through this entire book is, we are diminished. Please, can we get some goddamn reinforcements? But I digress. That's way outside the confines of this book and kind of the flow we're going through on this. So yeah, we get the kind of fun action sequence. We get Prey Sight. We get Night Lords doing what Night Lords do. I love the fact during combat, taking a second to like put people's severed heads on their armor. It's like, I'm doing this thing. Gotta get my trophies still. I think it's like Sirion that every time he shows back up when he's not within the same scene as Talos, Talos is like, he's got new skulls and heads on his armor. Like, that's just silly. I love it about that, where it's like, I'm going to take the 10 seconds required to pull this person's head off and gingerly put it on the meat hooks that festoon my armor because fashion is important. Oh, speaking of fashion is important, did you get the great line about Uzas's cape at one point?
He has a cape?
He's wearing a cape. It's in one sentence where they acknowledge he's wearing a cape. The cape is made from the royal family of a planet they raided at one point.
Oh, yeah. I saw that, and I was just like, oh my god, this guy.
Yes, Uzas is wearing... I made some jokes about this. The Night Lords are not good people. They literally skin and flay people. I think there's numerous mentions throughout this book to the skinning pits. Do you know what that is? It's a pit.
Where you skin people.
No, you throw the people after you've skinned them.
Oh, never mind. It's not where the skinning happens.
You don't do the fine artist work in the pit. You do it next to the pits. You have a place to dispose of the bodies, Chad. It's so obvious.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was the Rachel Ray trash bowl of the fucking Warhammer 40k universe.
Yes. Not on you. There's a lot happens in this book, but yeah, so...
A lot does happen in this book.
The Void War happens. We get as I said, we get the Exalted. It's a bit of a combat genius when it comes to space fighting. Night Lords do Night Lord things. They beat up a bunch of humans. It's a very one-sided fight. They got to go back and forth and stuff like that. And then they go down to the prison planet because they've been summoned by Abaddon the Despoiler, the head of the bad guy faction.
I hate the way that Abaddon's name, it's Ezekiel Abaddon, but like I look at it and I just found out how the way it was spelled just because I was listening to the audiobook version.
You pronounce it Abaddon?
No, it's not that. It's Ezekiel. Like there's Kyle or Easy Kyle. Like there's Kyle in the middle of his name instead of just going with Ezekiel.
So the best part of this, because it's 40k, there's some inconsistency with how the name is pronounced because not everyone knows how to pronounce it.
So it could be Easy Kyle.
It could, yeah. Depending on who read the book at what point in time they're reading it. There are books that existed before Games Workshop gave a shit about people pronouncing stuff correctly consistently. So there's possibly a version of Abaddon out there that is Easy Kyle Abaddon. I wish I was making that up.
Anyway, as Ezekiel or Abaddon, fucking not a great war strategist from what we saw.
I mean, he's doing well. Like he has the biggest bad guy army. Sure, this is true, but more important part of this is Abaddon wants to meet Talos specifically. They go there. They have this whole kind of talking about things. Abaddon makes a whole pitch of like, oh, you should join me. And Talos says, no, I'm a Night Lord. I do Night Lord things. I don't want to be part of your dumb crusade. And then Reuven shows up. And I love how, like, the introduction of Reuven, you're just like, oh, everyone fucking hates Reuven. Even Abaddon kind of hates Reuven a little bit. But Reuven is a former Night Lord. He is introduced as a sorcerer. And as part of kind of when Talos turns down Abaddon's whole sales pitch, he shoots him, injects him with some poison, and then Talos trips balls for some amount of time. But as kind of part of this, we have this whole kind of conversation leading into this, that the Night Lords ain't no slaves, and they are the sons of Conrad Kurze, who would not bow to Abaddon and would not be for all of this. Have we started having flashbacks to when Conrad Kurze is alive yet? I think we had our first couple, and we kind of get a good introduction of how just absolutely batshit insane Conrad Kurze.
Yeah, because there was I think this is around the same time as that conversation where everyone's like, Conrad Kurze asks like a question that Talos had the correct answer for, or something. It was like, what's the meaning of war, or something like that. I did bookmark it, but I, for whatever reason, didn't write it down in my notes. But it was like this next to my character notes on Talos protagonist. I think he has daddy issues? ?
I mean, every Space Marine does, but that's a separate topic.
Okay, but
that's a reoccurring thing. The entire Imperium of Man, specifically the Space Marines, has daddy issues, but we don't have the time or the context in this book to go into further details. Like we get kind of an explanation of Conrad Kurze as part of this. We get some Night Haunter shit. Like But yeah, so Talos trips balls as part of this. We get to meet the kind of 4 ruinous powers. We get their sales pitches as part of this, as they're trying to kind of appeal to Talos, make him one of their champions kind of thing. Of the 3, Zeech and Slanesh kind of make the best offers, but Talos turns them all down. Nurgle's like, nah, you ain't one of mine, and just kind of pieces out at that point. And Korn's like, you want to be a berserker? No, I don't have much else then. Sorry. And Talos wakes up and does Talos things, and a bunch of people die. And it's around this time that we find out that the rest of the Night Lords have been under attack. They have Octavia has been kidnapped by a gang of thieves, they are on a prison planet recruiting for the bad guy side of the Long War type of thing, and they're just kind of recruiting any prisoners that will come along as cannon fodder type of thing. To your point, Jad, Abaddon's whole plan is, what if I just throw endless waves of expendable humans at them that were already kind of like disposed to be bad people at things, and what happens, but that's a whole other separate topic, which neither side's great about, not wasting normal human lives, but that's a larger topic for some other time. But yeah, so we then kind of get our first, Talos is really a bit of a badass, especially even amongst the Night Lords, who all kind of seem to have a bit of a Spec Ops vibe to them, just given how competent they are with most circumstances. Talos is a cut above the rest occasionally, and we get kind of a fun sequence of Talos just tearing through prisoners, rescue Octavia.
Yeah, because they're Septimus and Octavia got stuck on the Thunderhawk, their ship, on a prison planet, and that's when the Night Lords got abducted and taken to Abaddon. But for whatever reason, they just left the Nighthawk, and then there was like some crazy trap because Talos was like, "No, fuck you, Abaddon. I'm going to do my own thing." It's like, well, say goodbye to your slave people or whatever the fuck. And like, they end up defending themselves against the prison planet with the usage of their ships as guns, which also just cheese grated a whole bunch of people. Like, Septimus is kind of a badass, despite the fact that he's just a guy.
Yes.
Or some guy.
To quote Abaddon, the wasteful ignorance of the Imperium of Man, as he's kind of remarking about a void-shielded prison full of death row inmates. Like, Abaddon realizes the value of a bunch of people that you do not care if they live or die in a war. It's a terrible value, but that's kind of what Abaddon's working with.
And you find out Talos kind of is an okay person because he likes his pets.
Yeah.
Because Talos like kicks absolute ass just getting Octavia back.
Yeah.
Because Octavia gets beat up and like absolutely just wrecked.
And Talos is pissed about it. Like, this is kind of this weird little hint that we get that like there is this, as twisted as it may be, the Night Lord nobility is kind of like, it's obsessed with justice. Like, Talos is like, it's one of these things where Talos is not just mad that his pets were taken. He's mad that you dared to hurt his pets. Yeah, we got the great line of Talos in a very badass mode, which just says, I will be back. As like Septimus is there in great pain. He's like, don't worry, I'm gonna go get my girl back. Stay here. I'm gonna go kill a bunch of people. Be back in like 5-10 minutes. And goes and does that. We get I think my notes here just says Talos is all bite, very little bark.
Oh yeah. And Septimus is like absolutely fucked up too. He's just kicking it in the fucking pilot seat on the bridge or wherever it is.
I think he loses an eye and a hand as part of this. Yeah.
Yeah. He loses an eye and his other one is just like so badly damaged. He's just temporarily blind.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of get this interesting sequence where like Talos in his head is kind of narrating what he's doing. And my note kind of just here says, the Night Lords are monsters, but they're not degenerate scum, at least in Talos's perspective. And
oh yeah. One of my favorite lines from Octavia is that the person who is hinted that sexually assaulted her, it's not explicit, which I think is a good.
Yes.
It's not explicit, which I think the book kind of is gentle about, and it's really it's implied, but just kind of in the sense of this is.
But what Talos does to that dude is exceptionally explicit.
Oh yeah, but the line that fucking Octavia says, where her captor is like, "Oh, I think he's like coming for you," and Octavia was like, "No, I think he's coming for you." I was like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah!" I love plucky woman just getting through, or just surviving and fucking getting through some real sticky situations.
This is as good a time as any to talk about Ave Dominus Nox, we have come for you, which is all hail the Night Lords. The chapter's literal catchphrase is we have come for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as part of this, we kind of get the origins of Conrad Kurze and the Night Haunter and kind of talking about his whole weird thing on Nostromo. We don't go up. There's a full separate book about the Night Haunter, kind of charting his whole thing. This gives a nice summary of kind of like the joke in the fan base is that the Night Haunter is basically Batman if Batman was realistic, where it's like, no, Batman kills a shit ton of people to quote enforce justice in Gotham, and the Night Haunter, no different. He just did on a planet-wide city scale and somehow brought a degenerate gang planet to heal through excessive and horrific murder and torture, as one does in 40K, apparently, if you're the Night Haunter.
I love how you're talking about it being like, oh, if Batman was a little bit more realistic, as if like the fucking Astartes are realistic with their 3 lungs and multiple organs just because they need a spare.
I mean, like, we'll get to that in a minute or two. They have acid spit too, but
they have acid spit and neck testicles, which we'll get to at some point, I guess.
We'll talk about all this stuff. It's all in the book, so we'll talk about it. But yeah, I meant realistic more kind of from like the reality of what this whole Batman doesn't kill people when he's hitting them with cars and throwing them off buildings and like beating them to a bloody pulp. No, Batman has killed a lot of people. This is just kind of like, yeah, this is the Punisher plus Batman plus like every edgelord comic book character of the 90s rolled up into this weird uber goth skinny dude that goes by the name the Night Haunter, whose also name is Conrad Kurze. Like, he is the leader of the Night Lords. He's the Night Haunter. He's the Primarch of the Night Lords, etc., etc. He's exactly who you think is in charge of an army of people like Talos. Now, so we get kind of the origins of the Primarch. We get the kind of general concept of the Primarchs explained a little bit, but most we can kind of a rundown of the Night Haunter. We get a little bit of that story there. The whole, Conrad Kurze is a bit insane. And then we have Talos' hunt as he just kind of rips through inmates and saves Octavia. And it's all, We also then get a brief flash up to correspondence between Abaddon and the Exalted, where turns out this whole trap thing was actually the Exalted trying to corrupt or remove Talos from play because he thinks of Talos as a problem. But that's unimportant because we got a Titan to go fight, and we get kind of a cool little sequence of what happens with a bunch of people on foot, fight something the size of a skyscraper, and win.
I just love the fact that was it Uzas who was like, oh shit, we lost Uzas, but he's like, nah, it's cool. I just like nuked myself into it. I just like nuked the ground so that way the fucking force of impact would just shoot me into the 3rd floor of this secondary building. And I think that's when I was like, Uzas, you are a cool motherfucker.
Yeah, we get a couple of new characters as part of this that join First Claw as part of this. We get to meet the Hunter in the Gray, piloted by one Princept Argerian Holliston, a character that gets like a lot of description just to get wrecked, basically. Like, I love how much detail they give this character just for the Night Lords to unceremoniously pull him out of his cockpit as a hostage. But the more important part of this is the future's a little bit malleable, which is a kind of reoccurring theme throughout this book, is that Talos can see the future. Conrad Kurze, aka the Night Haunter, could also see the future. But the Conrad Kurze was kind of obsessed with, you can't change the future. This is our first kind of set of major hints that maybe the future is actually a little bit flexible. Maybe it's not as set in stone. It's just a future because Talos sees and a couple people die as part of this, or misinterprets people dying as part of this or something, and they're fine. If they pull through, like what's supposed to happen in his visions does not come to pass type. This is kind of bookended by flashbacks to Talos returning to Nostromo after becoming a Space Marine or after becoming a Night Lord, and I'll admit kind of a weird aside involving Talos' mom that kind of hints at the inhuman nature of Talos at this point, where like hundreds of years have passed. He's like this big 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot tall slab of murder muscle and doesn't recognize his mom anymore, who recognizes him still. And like, he has to be told by someone else, hey, that was your mom, by the way.
Oh, that was his mom that he just like pushed aside as he was
Yeah.
marching, and then the fucking kill squad in the back was just like,
Yep.
you're too close to the you're too close to the package, and shoots her dead in the street.
Yeah. Yeah, the Night Lord you were thinking of is Mercutian, who does the explosion thing to throw himself around.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought that was Uzas. All right.
No, Uzas is supposed to die, but does not. Mercutian, I believe, is the one that in the second book they have a great line about like, you're outnumbered. We have you outnumbered like 8-5, and Talos responds with, "Yeah, but I have Mercutian," and the people that have the outnumbered go, "Oh shit." I may be mixing them up. I've not read the second one for a little while, but yeah, we get Mercutian, who does dumb shit like exploding rooms to throw himself out of harm's way and stuff like that. This is when we kind of get the explanation that the war is not going great for the Night Lords. This is not their style of fighting. They're all about flash and grab tactics. Not so much stealth, but straight up terrorizing and stuff like that. Like this whole direct assault is A, not their thing, and B, not what they're good at type of thing. And the Exalted just straight up does not give a fuck about this. He is more than happy to waste the lives of the various Night Lords. And this is not sitting well with Talos, who then decides it's time to wake up Malkarian.
I love the pomp and circumstance that involved with waking up Malkarian. Yes. And I think it was just so very funny that Talos is like, I'm going to be chummy with the tech priest that is taking care of this ritual.
Yeah, the Deltrian.
Deltrian, yes.
Yes. The inhuman kind of body horror cyborg thing that keeps all the cool technology running for them.
Rip to a real one, but it's just so wild to think that like, all right, cool, here's like this beloved war hero who just did not want to be interned in the way that he was, but we're just gonna go ahead and wake up the dead, who is now piloting a fucking city-sized Evangelion unit.
No, that's not that big. Like,
oh, okay.
This is probably the size of like a modern day tank, probably a little bit bigger. It's not small, but dreadnoughts are not that big, but we'll get to that in a second. So yeah.
Okay. It's not the size of a building. All right.
Yeah, it's not, maybe a small house, but like not a big one. Like definitely larger than a shed.
Okay.
But like big enough you can put some heavy ordnance on it. Again, 40K is not great at scale, but yeah. So this is when we kind of get an introduction to the Exalted schemes. He keeps accusing Talos of taking over, and Talos isn't taking over. He doesn't want to be in charge, but also he's more Night Lord than the Exalted is at this point, and people are kind of starting to notice that and flocking to him, and that's a bit of a problem for the kind of command structure they've set up at this point. So, yeah. The Exalted solution to this is to send one of his Astromentar, aka Varl in this case, to kill a bunch of First Claw, the Talos' squad, and we get a kind of demonstration of just how powerful and dangerous Terminator armor is, which is just a fun aside because I enjoy Terminator armor, where it's like we have power armor and then we have the better power armor, and that's just fun in my book. And
Wolverine claws,
not so little, but yes, that one has Wolverine claws. Kind of as part of all this fighting, bolter fire goes off, which are the kind of not weird, but the guns that shoot soda can sized bullets the Space Marines favor. And our first words from Malkarian upon waking from essentially death is, I heard bolter fire, to then go and kick Varl's ass. As we will come to know, Malkarian, the War Sage, is a true master of words.
I love that when he chuckles, it's just this weird grinding noise. He has a sense of humor, but he's a fucking corpse robot.
Yes.
He's a corpse mech, and he just likes to just make jokes.
And a bunch of speaker equipment's trying to interpret very human, organic things, and it can't do it because it's not designed to do that. And like, you may have not noticed this, there's a bunch of quotes at the start of each chapter. Those are all quotes from Malkarian. Like, he really is the War Sage. He is a philosopher. He is quite smart and heady and kind of talks about stuff and has philosophy to share. Admittedly, it's Night Lord philosophy, so it's, but like, he is a verbose individual that's now locked in a giant walking tank. And just because his body is this kind of little sad fetal positioned, basically a corpse in a sack of liquid, that's not to diminish his spirits. He's still joking the entire time. He's still him, which is a whole fun thing that I've come to love across these books. But yeah, a little aside, we get another kind of drop pod mission, or we get Malkarian kind of being shown off to the rest of the Claw and announcing, yeah, I'm gonna go kill some people on the planet who's with me, and all the Night Lords are like, fuck yeah, Malkarian's back, let's go kill people. And we have a fun drop pod sequence of First Claw messing with Septimus about how, like, is drilling holes in a Night Lord medallion desecration of gear, and isn't that punishable by death and stuff like that. Like, it's a fun little aside of a bunch of, like, homicidal super soldiers being like, look at our human buddy, let's make some jokes that maybe aren't jokes.
We're just gonna lightly threaten you because you're our favorite.
Yes,
these are things that you don't know whether or not you will die this very instant, so the fact that you're pissing your pants right now is the punchline.
The fact that I think they made some reference to, like, the fact they could smell him wet himself, because that's how strong their scent of smell is and stuff like that. It's just fun, stupid Space Marine shit where it's like, yeah, they keep talking about how much they love being around humans because they smell of fear, and they're like, yeah, that's what I live for. It's human fear sense. But yeah, so as that's all kind of going on, we have the Night Lord storming the planet with Malkarian doing big battle stuff. We get introduced to Argius, the Covenant of Blood's navigator, who is a kind of horrifying asshole.
He's got finger extensions. He's got so many rings.
Yep.
On whatever the heck. He's a dick. He's just there to be like, all right, cool. Remove the fucking plate from your head. I'm going to teach you how to navigate the ship, but like not really, because the way that you're doing stuff is wrong. And I'm just going to constantly berate you over how shitty of a navigator you are, despite the fact that this is your first job.
In his defense, she's been doing it up till now with the training wheel. She's been traveling the way the Imperium does it. The way the Night Lords have to do it's kind of the outlaw actual navigating. Like, I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying he's also not wrong, where it's like, yeah, you've been navigating with GPS. Here's how to use a fucking map. You can't do that anymore. We have to navigate for real and not just like typing in some coordinates and going, yeah, this is navigating by the stars as opposed to navigating with a compass, which is what she's been doing up till that point. And I'm not saying what he's doing is right, but like,
it works.
In defense of a pretty indefendable character who's just kind of a gross body horror monster thing, he's not wrong.
He doesn't have legs, right? He's just like a torso.
Yeah.
He's just like a torso.
Yeah, my notes for this just say, hope you like navigator monsters. But yeah, like what he is doing is, by the simple fact he's been doing it as long as he has, he's a better navigator probably than the majority of the navigators in the Imperium service. Like, because he works for the Night Lords, he's probably a better navigator than the navigators normal Space Marines have. Just some context, like, the guy's an asshole and a monster and a sexist and a bigot and a variety of other things. He's also really quite a good navigator. He's been doing it for quite some time. Under less than ideal conditions. But yeah, we get the Krive Sector War, the hunt for Enshem as part of this. Lots of planetary fighting. It's fun little bolter stuff. It's like it kind of drives home the fact this is not what the Night Lords like to do. It's very frontal assault. Like, we have this whole, like, people are getting slaughtered. We have just stuff going on. Like, it's very kind of, it's brief. Like, it's only a couple pages. Like, it's like 5-10 minutes of the audiobook. So there's probably a few pages in the book, but like, you get a sense of just kind of how horrific the way the side of chaos wages war. And you get maybe some hints at like what the Night Lords do is monstrous, but it technically saves lives. Food for thought. Again, never take anything I say about Conrad Kurze's method as a serious endorsement of it. It's 40K logic at that point. But yeah, Covenant of Blood gets under attack. They have to withdraw from the planet. We get the Talos gets a vision. Malkarian signals the withdrawal. We then get they dip. Abaddon be damned. They go back to their ship. They're going to run. We get the Dreadnought versus Dreadnought rematch of literally Malkarian versus a dude he's already killed once already in another Dreadnought, which I think is a fun fight.
Because what's it called? His statue that was marking his death.
Oh no!
Has his helmet
So Malkarian's Dreadnought is festooned with a mural of him murdering the dude in the Dreadnought that he's now fighting. And the entire fight, Malkarian's just yelling, I did this once already. Stay dead again. It's great. I love it so much.
I was like, this man is such a good boaster. This is great. Because it's like the most fancy ass like sarcophagus as well.
Dreadnoughts are symbols of reverence. They are for the heroes of the chapter. But what is the hero of a Night Lord's chapter like? Well, it's Malkarian, this fantastic fighter who's like, I get to kill this dude all over again? Hell yeah! Yeah, I love the Dreadnought versus Dreadnought fight. It's a great fight, but also, like, I just love the fact that, like, the Blood Angel side of this, it's all serious and, like, die traitor, and Malkarian's like, you couldn't beat me once before! You're not gonna do it this time either! Other notes from this is we get the Talos does the Batman thing where he's up, like, you get a fun sequence where you are viewing kind of a boarding action from the Blood Angel's perspective. They're on the ship. You get the Night Lords just dropping on them from the ceiling, all surprise tactics do what Night Lords do. And I think that sequence is fun, where it's all like tactics. It's like, where are they? And the Night Lords are basically like, surprise! Unconventional tactics, bitches! We are literally going to jump you!
You can't tactic your way out of a nuke to the face.
Yeah, basically, yes. Like that's what they do. But yeah, like it's the, all your cornering doesn't help you when we're on the ceiling. You didn't think to check the ceiling, did you, as you were clearing the room? But yeah, so big fight happens. Blood Angels get repelled. The Exalted kind of scoops up some Night Lords from some other ships, kind of adding them to them as they're all retreating. The Void Child died as part of this, unfortunately. Octavia gets her first dive or drive of the ship because Argius dies as part of this whole boarding action thing. She does okay. The Night Lords escape. We're left on a bit of a cliffhanger, but also like, yeah, Night Lords have technically come out on top of this thing. They've got some new troops. They've got some new vehicles. They've got some more ships. They've rebolstered some. Talos and the Exalted are kind of okay at this point. Malkarian's back to being at least in suspended animation where he wants to be. Like, he's not. We forgot to talk about this. I think the best part of Malkarian waking up is the fact that he's pissed he's alive again.
Oh yeah, he didn't want this. He's just like, oh, fuck me, you guys, really. But the only reason is like what they've tried this multiple times before, like 3 times before. Yeah, this is the 4th time that they've tried to resurrect him, and the only reason why he did this is because Talos was like, "Yo, Malkarian, help a homie out." And Malkarian's like, "I hear bolter fire," and fucking just wakes up.
We forgot to mention this detail at one point. At some point during this, Talos asks Malkarian if he can borrow his old gun, and Malkarian's like, well, I can't use it with these giant car-crushing hands now, can I? Oh, yeah.
But I think the cliffhanger is what got me, because in talking about not like a challenge coin, but like these like old-ass Nostramus coins and stuff.
Yeah, the medallions, yeah.
The medallions, some of them will have the name of the Astartes like engraved on them.
Yeah. Each one has this, basically it's like a symbol of protection.
Like protection and fealty.
Yeah.
And so Septimus gives one to the Void Child, and by the Void Child owning that, it means that she is under the protection of
Talos.
Lord Talos himself. Yeah. But the fact that she died, it's like, oh, wait, hold up. That means that Talos had forsook that protection or failed to protect and whatnot. During the armor up sequence, Septimus receives a secondary medallion because
that's when they're giving him grief. Yeah,
why the fuck are you giving my shit to people without my permission? That's when Septimus was like, oh fuck. And then that Talos was like, just joshing you. I know about it because I'm fucking Talos. So
not a lot happens on this ship we don't know about. Yeah.
So that was a trip and a half. There was like the other person that was like introduced that seems to be like the next antagonist or just someone like important for the next book. I just love the fact that Octavia had the moment of just like, well, you didn't really teach me all that much. I guess I'm fucking doing it, and just gets behind the driver's seat and just opens up her fucking eye and just jumps.
And the ship hates her.
Oh, yeah. He's like, you're not my navigator. It's like, I am now, bitch.
Who the fuck are you?
Move.
Yeah. So that's speed running the Night Lords book, which I think is the longest book we've read so far for this. So a lot got glossed over for that, because as much as I enjoy the details, they're not that important in the grand scheme of things. Talk about this kind of in a more discussionary topics. You want to go over dumb things we both liked a lot?
There's so much.
You want to talk about Midnight Clad?
I still kind of don't understand that. Everyone's
It just means they're wearing their armor.
I know, but like it was for the longest time, I just didn't understand like what, like, we will be in our midnight clad. And I'm just like, the fuck? Is that like skyclad? Are y'all just nudists going to a thing? Like, do you have like a fan?
The Night Lords are fancy lads that want to have a fancy phrase for when they're wearing their armor. Like, it's like, yes, armor up is a fine sentence, but like, we shall descend upon the mortals midnight clad. That's so much cooler and so dumber.
It's like they have such a weird pomp and circumstance to everything that they have to say. And it's like, yes, I need to take my night shit on my fucking night throne. Like, goddamn, dude.
I love Midnight Clad. You can't ruin this for me. It's so stupid. So great.
No, it's not. Okay, so when I think about like books having their own language, I always refer back to Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. I personally hate that series and I hate that book because everyone talks like fucking Smurfs because everything is like storm related. And so their curse words are like, oh, storming or like storm it or whatever the fuck. And in my brain, it's like, dude, you talk like a children's television show from like the 60s or I don't know when the Smurfs were coming out.
Whatever. Yeah. It does. Yes.
But the book introduces this language in such a weird, disjointed way that has almost like a sense of importance specifically tied to these characters, because Octavia, as somebody from the Empire, has her own set of curse words or like what she views as swears. The Night Lords as what they view as like regal and honorary and everything else like that is just so specifically tied to their culture and to them that it makes sense and it flows much easier than like just, oh, we're replacing the word fuck with like dark.
Yeah, there's a certain kind of like, you just kind of give yourself over to, okay, this is a silly Night Lord thing, and you pick it up kind of by osmosis, which I kind of really give the book a lot of credit for. You may have missed this great line, or kind of this little section. Octavia speaks low and high Gothic. The majority of people on the ship don't speak that. They speak Nostroman, so she can barely talk to anyone when she first shows up. And like, Septimus describes Nostroman as colorful and wordy compared to Low Gothic.
Oh, I think that's great, especially because like she was like learning Nostroman like in order to talk to the Void Child, who she became like really good friends with, or like and then ended up like liking and whatnot.
Yeah.
The way that Aaron just kind of really creates the world helped out for me as someone who has no foundation for Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
The introduction of the world into just then like accept like the suspension of disbelief in the middle of the book where I'm just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm like full into the kayfabe of it all.
Yeah.
Really helped out the last little bits or like the tail end of the book to flow easier.
When you don't even talk about the flashbacks where like the reason Talos is called the Soul Hunter is because Conrad Kurze likes puns, and he calls him Soul Hunter because he's the only one that tries to avenge Conrad Kurze when Conrad Kurze gets his ass assassinated.
Yeah. It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's so dumb. So let's talk about that actually for a few minutes. So the kind of secondary plot of this is the final days of Conrad Kurze and the fact that like Talos and other Night Lords are like, we should fight, we should not do this. And Conrad Kurze is all, no, the future's set in stone, it cannot be changed, etc., etc. And Conrad Kurze dies in what by all measures is a fight he should have not just won, but like won pretty handily. And he does it because he's basically trying to prove a point, which is that you can't change fate, but he totally could have. Like, want to take it outside the book for a couple seconds. The ongoing joke about Conrad Kurze is like, he can see the future and just goes, I guess that's what has to happen, and then works overtime to guarantee that happens, whether or not it's what he wants.
Loyal to a fault.
Not so much loyal, it's just more kind of like fatalist to a fault, I guess. Like,
I see.
Yeah.
I know we kind of skipped over this, but the whole moving away from Conrad Kurze, Vandred was so fucking annoying for the entirety of the book, and then he gets his badass moment where he's just like, actually, I'm going to make a fucking aerial maneuver that's so grand because I love, not love, I guess, but just the Night Lord should not be dwindled anymore. And fucking just like cause it. Oh God, the ship descriptions of just like, I'm just gonna get in the way of these giant guns or Abaddon's giant guns, so that way I can just start free falling towards the planet in order for me to just pick up the last remaining Night Lords so that Abaddon can get fucked because like fuck is war.
Oh, they're so fucking petty. It's great.
I was like, dude, this entire time you were just a total pushover. And then after what was the inciting incident where he was like, you know what, fuck Abaddon. Oh, I think it was like the FaceTime call that they had.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're gonna get wiped out. Well, I don't want to get wiped out. Me, the Exalted, can't be wiped out.
I'm the Exalted.
Yeah.
That can't happen to me.
Talos, how do we stop this? We leave. Leaving it is. Me, the Exalted, die? Not you, the expendable peons?
I just like that. The fact that Malkarion is like a comedic character.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I can't pick up these lemons with my giant mecha hands.
Yes.
I can feel my body sometimes. And I'm going to get really insightful. Oops, let me just rip out your spine real quick because I am in the middle of this war and I'm actually kind of bored. This is a chore for me.
I'm a giant walking weapons battery and I know how to use that weapons battery. But you know what I miss? Skinning people. That was my one passion.
I can't hold a skinning knife. People are so small now.
I can't itch my back either anymore. That was my second passion. Yeah, no, despite them being truly terrible people, I love the characters of this book. Like, even the Exalted / Vandred, like, there's a certain, like, charm to him where it's like, yes, I'm a space marine, but I'm a really good space marine when it comes to void fighting. And, like, everyone's like, man, we fucking hate the Exalted, but he's really good at these space fights. Like, goddamn, we're glad to have him as a captain in these specific moments. Like, he's doing so many cool things. We're pulling out W's where we should not be.
In the middle of this book, I realized it's pro wrestling. Just fucking take it as pro wrestling, and you're gonna have so much more fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's when like my brain just turned on and just said, yeah, it is what it is. This is what's going on now. And like it really took off from there. What other just stupid shit? Black Teeth was also super fucking funny. He's just like, yes, we're gonna get off this prison planet, and like the fact, like his point of view section,
the delusion that like he's like, A, he's getting off this planet to do what he wants. B, like
every time he talks, everyone's like, Black Teeth, shut the fuck up. Your breath is horrendous.
Yeah, like the delusion of every character. It's like, yes, I've survived, so therefore I'm important. Oh no, Talos is skinning me alive.
He wasn't even skinned alive. He was just like,
miniguns on this spaceship. Why did I run towards the miniguns on this spaceship?
Conceptus was like, well, cool. We're out of bullets. Here's a gun. Like,
what do I do now?
I'm gonna defend the door. We're gonna get kidnapped. And we're gonna get beat the fuck up and maybe just like violated or whatever have you. But like, you know what? We got guns still.
Yeah. No, and like concepts like the Long War and the Corpse God and stuff like that. Like,
what is the Long War? Like, I don't.
So the Long War is this idea that like, so Horus Heresy ends. It doesn't go bad for the side of chaos necessarily, but they don't win. The Imperium's not in great shape after that, and you could argue that like that's the peak of the Imperium, and everything after that is kind of a little bit downhill or slowly downhill from there. So, and kind of go outside the book again for a second, but also talk about as part of this, like, Talos was there. He was at the Siege of Terra. He was at the big battles. He was at kind of he was part of the Horus Heresy, which was 10,000 plus years ago.
Yeah, that's nuts to me.
Well, so, and like, to be fair, 10,000 years has not passed for Talos. They've said a couple times that, like, for some Chaos Space Marines, I'm not going to say Night Lords are for the sake of this conversation, the Horus Heresy or the Siege of Terra may have been like literally yesterday. because of how time works in the warp and stuff like that. There are Space Marines that, like, because of the warp, thought that shit happened super recently. For Talos, it's been a couple hundred years, et cetera, but, like, he is divorced from the traditional passage of time. And because of that, they have this concept called the Long War. The idea that, like, they're going to fight and bleed and kill the Imperium over an elongated period of time because they can. They don't have to win immediately. And the Night Lords, because of their kind of tactics and style and stuff like that, are specifically geared towards that concept. And to kind of engage in some Conrad Kurze's right talk for a quick second. Again, I'm not endorsing this. I'm just kind of putting this in Night Lord's perspective. From Conrad Kurze's perspective, and arguably from kind of a, like, super nihilistic, without any reflection reading of Warhammer 40,000 lore, the Great Crusade that happens is basically the Emperor sending all his Primarchs and their forces out and just trying to conquer the galaxy. The Night Lord's perspective is, hey, if we really brutally kill some people, we can subjugate planets without having to kill as many people. Like, we were much better at bringing planets to heal by monstrous tactics. Like, and Conrad Kurze's whole argument, the Night Lord's whole argument, is the idea that, like, you only have to kill a couple thousand people to control millions of people. And it's control through fear, which doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. That's the whole hypocrisy of Conrad Kurze. That's why he blows up Nostromo. Like, outside of this book, there's a great conversation in the Prince of Crows book between Conrad Kurze and Sevatar, where Sevatar's just basically like, did you try anything else? And Conrad Kurze is like, no, it's the only way. And Sevatar's like, yeah, but, like, did you try anything else? Literally anything else? Or was it just cannibalism and skinning? And because Conrad Kurze is an idiot, it was just cannibalism and skinning. But the backbone of the Night Lords is the idea that, like, their way is pure. That they're like, there's no complications to it. They are honest about what they did. They're doing exactly what they were made to do, which is true. There's this whole kind of weird disconnect where it's like, oh, the Night Lords are monsters. The Night Lords were always monsters. Like, this wasn't like they got worse over time. They kind of showed up bad and got a little bit worse, but not that much worse. They've always kind of been the dark tactics army, even before Conrad Kurze got reunited with them and shit like that, which is a whole other separate topic. Like, again, outside the confines of the book, there's an argument to be made that the Night Lords are operating exactly as intended, which means they were designed to be the terrorist cell Space Marines, which is what they are. And the Long War is just kind of their approach to it, where it's like, we can raid and we can kind of, like, space pirate indefinitely because we are functionally immortal. We don't age in the way the normal sense does. Like, even without armor, we are better than any human can fight, type of thing. If we just want to kind of slowly fight this out, we'll probably win. Attrition doesn't work that way, and a variety of other things, but the Long War is the kind of in their head ongoing conflict between the Night Lords and the Imperium of Man that never ended. Like, they're just in this next phase of it. And the book talks about that some, but yeah, that's kind of a theme across all three books.
Going back to one of the stupid things that I love about this book, speaking of attrition, Gene Seed, it's okay. In my notes, I love how hyper masculine and hyper violent this book is, in that it just kind of loops around, and there's like a subtle amount of camp that is just within the setting of Warhammer 40K, where it's just so homoerotic, but like violently so.
Yeah.
Just because when I first experienced the concept of the Gene Seed, I didn't really quite understand what was going on. Like, what I'm told through 6th grade sex ed, it's like, all right, cool. Like, our gonads produce fucking gametes that when combined,
as
whatever
we
the hell.
all know, Space Marines are sterile. They're made through a long, complicated process of science and brainwashing and genetic modifications. And
but like their soul cum is like stored in their neck.
Yes.
They have a fucking like sack of their genes that like other Space Marines are just like, I need to eat their gene seed in order to survive and make whatever the fuck.
That's kind of a Night Lord thing, but yes.
And like, okay, hold up. It's kind of a Night Lord thing, so like no other Space Marines are eating the gene seeds of like
Space Marines in general are the ones that are like, yo, I'm gonna eat your gene seeds. but like specifically the Night Lords, that's kind of their thing.
Okay. Oh,
they're much more obsessed with it.
I loved the sequence where Talos commits, like, not regicide, but like gets vengeance on his it was Conrad Kurze's wife.
No, murderer. The assassin.
The assassin. Okay, I thought that was like his stepmother or something like that.
No. I get how you got there because Conrad Kurze is fucking weird, and that yes.
So it wasn't his. It wasn't his stepmother.
No,
it was.
No.
How? What? Who is she to Conrad Kurze?
Just his murderer.
Okay.
To step outside the confines of the book, the Imperium employs a variety of assassins of varying special skills and metamorphing abilities, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she's a fucking Imperial assassin.
How did I get there? Either way, the fight between her and Talos was superb.
Yep.
The way that her Imperial assassin training had to then go up against Talos and her viewpoints of this fight being like, there is only a small chance that I can make it out of here and whatnot, but then her becoming like functionally blind because Talos's acid spit.
Just fucking spits in her face with that acid gland, yeah.
Which is also so funny because it's like, what do you mean they have acid spit? Does like who else has acid spit? Is that just them? Are they green Sub-Zero? Are they reptile?
I mean, all Space Marines are supposed to have acid spit, but not all of them do. But the Night Lords, because their gene seed is pure, have acid spit guaranteed. Space Marines can also eat the flesh and or brain. It's not totally clear in my brain on this one of other things and gain their memories because that's a totally normal thing for things to do.
I kind of got that. I thought that was like the special power of like the other. In my brain,
the Night Lords don't really have a special power except for horrific artistry.
In my mind, all the Space Marines were like Sub-Zero and Scorpion and like Smoke, Rain. They were just all the Rainbow Ninja clan, and each of them had their own shtick.
I mean, they kind of do. The Night Lord's shtick is just making capes out of noble families and being really good at arts and crafts.
I love that the Night Lords are just violent, kind of flamboyant. Like they're just violent dandy goths.
They have flair.
They're just sparkle goths.
Yeah.
Sparkle goths with a knife.
I mean, like, we didn't talk about it much, but like the fact that they describe all of their armors as these like insanely ornately decorated, like they have like gargoyle horns and skull patterns, and like they're covered in lightning decals and like cool ass paint jobs and shit. Like, it's
whose armor just has straight up a unicorn horn. There's like in the middle of the forehead, someone's got a spike.
One of the Astramentar has a horn, but the other one has tusks because that's just what you do with Terminator armor if you're in the Night Lords. Yeah, like fucking Talos, they talk about how like he has a skull face paint or like a skull painted on his mask, but then because he's stealing other Space Marines armor, he's like ritualistically busting up their like signifier of the good guys on the center of it to be like, no, I'm not just evil, I'm comically evil. Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. Like this, yeah, like they're written like these brooding psychopaths, and they are. But like if you take a step back, they're like wearing capes and draped in chains with hooks on them and people's heads and skulls and like big like bat ears on their helmets and shit like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. But also it's like, imagine how fucking terrifying that would be coming at you. Just a Space Marine that has a shoulder pad that's festooned with people's faces stretched over it. Because I think that's what someone had at one point.
This is like this really is just the Brood. Like this is fucking Gangrel.
Yeah.
with Edge.
The Night Lords are so ridiculously overwritten. It's why you can make jokes like maybe Conrad Kurze was right, because like there's nothing serious about them. They are so fantastically stupid, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. So transitioning to kind of like, so why this book, you might be wondering. Like, of all the books out there, why the fuck did I have us pick the Night Lords book? It is because it's not perfect at this, but of the numerous Warhammer books out there, this one does a disturbingly good job of simultaneously being an on-ramp for the rest of Warhammer 40,000 lore, but also totally working by itself. There's nothing in this book that you have to have outside context for it to make sense, which is kind of rare for Warhammer books. Like, it is possible to just enjoy the Night Lords trilogy as a trilogy of weird, kind of brotastic, weird slasher sci-fi books. And I find that immensely commendable because they're also the base bone for the lore for the fucking Night Lords. And also, you will learn by, like, do you feel as though you know more about Warhammer 40,000 having read this book than you did prior to it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny in that, like, I didn't understand the vibe of Warhammer 40K through just even with, like, the tabletop experience that I had, through just experiencing kind of the play aspect of, like, watching people, like, kind of go through their wars. Just because, like, you don't really have... I've never played any of, like, the video games or anything else like that. So I don't have, like, a concept of the world within it. Because the games are just like, all right, well, we have these people and here's maths and here's the area of effects of stuff. Let me pull out my green transparent ruler. But with Soul Hunter, it gave me context for just kind of how the Imperium works, what humans are, and just how freakishly outlandish the entire concept of the Asterium, the outlandishness of these, like, country ships, it's just so bonkers. Even the introduction of, like, the fucking chaos gods.
You have the literal 4 chaos gods, maybe not fully show up to Talos, but, like, send part of themselves, emissaries or something, and one of those gods shows up and is like, this wasn't worth the trip. You're not going to work for me. We're not going to work together. Like, but then you also have Slanesh and Zeech making, like, honest to God sales pitches, and it's like, you already really love the murder thing, don't you? Wouldn't it be cool doing that for me? And the flip side, it's like, you love scheming. Imagine all the schemes we could have, huh? Oh, it's, yeah, I think I've always said 40K is at its best when you're, like, leaning into the ridiculousness of it, and, like, there's simultaneously a just, like, over the top, everything is canon, what the fuck is happening. Quote the joke I make when we talk about this in a lore sense. This is lore designed to sell more plastic miniatures. Never forget that when it comes to Warhammer shit, but also, like, it's fun and ridiculous and over the top, and, like, the Night Lords are stupid, but also kind of cool, but they're so stupid, but they're kind of cool, too, and that, like, the Punisher is kind of cool, but stupid, but kind of cool kind of way.
I think that's the big thing, is the fact that it really just leans into the over-the-topness of it all. Because I can tell when something's half-assed. I can tell when someone is, like hesitant about being perceived as silly. Like, dude, we are all adults locking ourselves into a room to improv at each other with fucking, like, with magic spells and everything else like that. Like, just accept the fact that, like, this nerdiness is kind of ludicrous. And have fun with that ludicrousness. Find the magic and find whatever it is in the ludicrousness. I'm picking up a book called fucking Soul Hunter. A weirdly proportioned, like, potato man.
Terminator. That's Terminator on the cover of it,
with a man with a Wolverine claw, covered in armor in a weird fucking way, holding a gun. Covered in lightning bolts. Like, this is stupid. Good stupid. This is great.
And the best part of this book is that, like, it could turn and wink at you at certain points, but no. It takes itself completely seriously and presents itself as, like, this is matter of fact. This is normal. None of this is ridiculous. And you're sitting there being like, yeah, none of this is ridiculous. The Night Lords are super cool, and I'm here for it. By the end, you're like, man, this is so stupid in the best way possible. And that's 40K stuff at its best. So, again, the question is, why this book? There's a variety of layers to this. So, first off, it is a master class in explaining a giant, complicated setting. How it kind of, like, slowly feeds you, and It's not perfect in this. It kind of slowly kind of like throws out a little bit too much every once in a while. But by the time it gets there, you have enough context for things to make sense. So kind of one of the conversations I've seen happen a lot is the idea where it's like, hey, there's this setting. Sometimes it's 40K, sometimes it's other stuff. But like, how do I introduce a setting to a bunch of players that do not know this setting? Do I need to lore dump at them? Do I need to have like long lecture sessions about like the fucking settings of this and stuff like that? And obviously when it comes to 40K, partially for algorithm purposes, partially because I'm talking about 40K lore, it's funny and silly, I've chosen to go kind of like, let's do some lectures on this. But also like what this book does is slowly kind of add to a Jenga tower of like expanding lore for the setting. Like, are there points where it kind of stumbles and like, yeah, the flashbacks seem to be a little bit out of place occasionally? Yes, but it kind of all works. And it's doing, as a fantastic example, the ongoing like, well, your character would know X about this. And like thoughts of there's like, it does an amazing job of kind of setting you up to kind of infer stuff based off context and stuff like that. Like, it's really quite impressively written, and all three of them are, for what it's worth, where it's like, you do not need to know 40K for this book to make sense. It makes more sense, and there's a lot of kind of fun Easter eggs and hidden shit in there if you do know it. But like the way it builds its own world, that's this giant hundreds of books world, but still also manages to show you, this is all you need to know about this. Here's the hints at the larger stuff you have to know about. But like, here's all you actually have to know for the story to make sense. I think it's just unbelievably impressively well done. And for people trying to kind of dive into larger, more established, complicated tabletop RPG settings, emulate this book. It does an amazing job of kind of slowly just teaching you about its own setting, because it's only teaching you as much as it needs you to know at that exact second. And obviously you can't do it the exact way this book does it, but like the pacing of it, the way it reveals things, the fact that it just kind of shrugs and goes, you don't need to know about this. It's fine. Don't worry about it. There's a lot to be learned from that, I think.
I think it's okay for players to not know what something is sometimes, where it's like, hey, you don't need to explain to me who wrote what the government hierarchy of rogue traders are. They're here. Yeah. They're going to get cheese grated, and then they're going to go away. Yeah. So honestly, hey, they're rogue traders. They have access to money. They upgraded the ship. Oops, they're not powerful enough to deal with this other ship. So like,
we've established the ship as a big deal. It's powerful. It's modern. The Night Lords tear it apart in seconds, type of thing. Like, oh shit, the Night Lords Covenant of Blood. That's a real ass ship.
Hey, why does this woman have a third eye in her forehead? She's a navigator. That's not important right now. Okay, cool. It's time for like a navigator to be explained at the tail end of the book. Right on. We're going to go ahead and like touch back on that, so that way we can see like how exactly it's so important for this woman to be behind the wheel.
Yeah. We'll tell you she's ooky spooky and that like the third eye is dangerous and stuff. That's all you need to know at this point in time, because none of the rest of this matters yet. It will matter when it matters. And yeah, the book has some writing flaws. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that flashback stuff could be clearer. I think there are a couple sections I think could have used more elaboration. I think kind of the end of it's a little bit rushed, because it's like, oh, we're on the planet, we're fighting, and now we have to evacuate. I get it. The actual fighting on the planet's not that important, except to showcase how just abso-fucking-lutely miserable Markarian is to be alive, and how it's like, I'm better than all of you. Like, I get it. It's a fun little sequence, but like, it's also a chapter or two of them fighting, and it's like, fuck it, let's leave. It's actually to the real world we're building towards type of stuff. I think that kind of explaining a complicated setting, this book does it just not even surprising. I think it's done masterfully well. There's a lot to be learned for how to kind of dole out information. And also, like, in your campaign, you can give your players an Octavia or a Septimus that, like, says dumb shit like, but my lord, you might, like, obviously you know about this, or something like that. Like, there are nice ways that this book kind of hints at you can do little feedings of lore that are in setting, in character, makes more sense than just you being like, well, as we all know, the blah, 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 kingdom of blah, 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 blah. Like, it plays with confusion in a very cool way, I think, which it's probably why I like the books as much as I do. Like, it's one of those ones where I was generally curious, like how often were you confused by the book outside of kind of the flashback stuff?
Oh, outside of the flashback stuff, like, there are just times where I'm just like, okay, why is this person important? And then it answers that question with the introduction of like not just a character who, like the way that the relationship between these two characters kind of expounds, but just it introduces like another aspect into like the aggrandization of the world and everything else like that. Like the understanding of who it was Varia. Oh shit,
Varl.
Varl to me was just a very confusing person initially, but the way that Varl just kind of interacts with like Malkarian and how his importance as the trap for Talos kind of plays out through Malkarian's just existence as Talos's like trump card.
Yeah.
The importance of Malkarian is just hinted at through just the titles, the chapter titles as well. I didn't realize until like the second reading, funny enough, that all of them all of the quotes were like Malkarian's like philosophies and
the
whatnot.
First one's Conrad Kurze, I think, but yeah, the rest of them are Malkarian's philosophizings, if you will. Yeah.
And then how it just kind of then feeds into his character, and then once his character is introduced, it's like, oh, okay, cool, like that kind of makes sense. Initially I just thought like, oh, this is kind of a weird, ironic, funny character, but then second reread I was like, oh shit, it was there all along.
Yeah, we've been getting to know this character through subtle hints, and then he shows up and like it's definitely that character, but also you're like, man, this is such a different character. But it's like, no, this is the like remembered version of this character. Like, this is the folk hero version of Malkarian. And then Malkarian shows up. It's like, oh God, why am I alive? Please fucking kill me. Why did you do this to me, Talos? The
introduction of Talos's breaking the future, or not even just breaking future, but breaking the strict regularities of like his actions and his position, I think was just great in the sense of like why he's such an outcast, with how he was even talking to the tech priest. Like he's not like asking the tech priest like, hey man, how are your kids? But he's following a script. There's a line from the tech priest where it's like, that dude, that's not part of the ritual. It's like, but let me just be chummy with you and whatnot.
Like, we've exchanged greetings. Why are you still talking to me? It's like, Decimus, because I'm asking you to do a thing. And it's like, oh, okay then.
I've never been thanked before.
Yeah.
What do I do with this?
Yeah. I fully admit 40K books are not for most people. I hope people had fun with this one. There's a lot to learn about storytelling and kind of presenting information from this book that, like, because it's a 40K book and it's about the Night Lords, I think kind of goes underappreciated. Like, the actual writing quality of this, like when it's trying really hard to like do the thing, it does the thing so well. It describes combat fantastically. Like, even when you're getting lore dumped on, it's not boring ever. It's well written. Like, it's always entertaining kind of thing. Like, I think the choices it makes where it's like, yeah, it plays up Night Lords as kind of like a little too familiar with each other. So it's like, yeah, we're making jokes as we're ripping people's heads off and snapping spines and putting our chain swords through people. And you're like, you almost kind of forget every once in a while that the Night Lords are insane psychopath murderers. And then, like, the moment you forget that, the book reminds you. It's like, these people are fucking monsters, by the way. It's like, yeah, it's like, yes, this is very funny. Oh, ha, 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 ha. By the way, Uzas is now wearing someone's face as a hat. Any more stuff we want to talk about? We gotta get into the tabletop RPG-ness of this, if you will.
It's not a deep book. There's not a lot of things where
it's
I'm
not
just like,
deep, but I think it's got more points than you give it credit for.
I'm not saying that it like it's not here to like undermine the fucking like whatever, or undermine the patriarchy or provide social commentary on anything. But I think in terms of like this book, it's just such a fun read.
Yeah,
it's great to it's a summer popcorn flick. You sit down, you read about just the most broodiest like group of boys in the world, just boys being murder boys. And wow, I didn't expect to like this book.
No, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's one of those ones where like everything about it, like its name is fucking Soul Hunter. Soul Hunter is a kind of like
pun. It's a fucking pun.
It's a fucking pun in the book when it's revealed. Like, Conrad Kurze, because he knows Talos' future, is calling him Soul Hunter, and everyone's like, oh, S-O-U-L, oh haha, what a good Night Lord name. But no, it's S-O-L-E, and Conrad Kurze with his dying breath is like, look at you, my Soul Hunter, the sole person that comes to avenge me of all your fucking comrades. It's so stupid, but also like kind of fantastic where you're like, okay, it's like, we're gonna be edgy and broody. No, it's a fucking pun. And like Talos hates it.
Stop fucking calling me Soul Hunter. Because Talos is in on the joke. Everyone thinks that he's being like Mundo serious, but Talos is like, no. Conrad Kurze is just, I don't want to be named after a dad joke that he made with his dying breath.
Yeah.
God, this book's so stupid. I love it.
It's another thing I will say is that like the book dares to be stupid in the best way possible. Like, I'm aware I'm writing about the Night Lords. I'm gonna write the best story about the Night Lords I can, and that means this is gonna get weird. Conrad Kurze is gonna make dad jokes. Like, we're gonna have a bunch of like very serious space marines showing reverence to an 8-foot-tall, lanky, greasy goth kid that files his teeth and is like, my liege, and him like being like, shut the fuck up. I blew up that planet to prove a point. Oh yeah, Conrad Kurze is the best. Like, he is every single like edgelord, edgy teenage like OC character crammed into one 8-foot-tall goth kid that never kind of outgrew his broodiness, and he's given a bunch of super soldiers. And then it's like, oh, like, explain the Night Lords. They're what you get when you have a bunch of super soldiers that are aware their dad figure hates them.
The Night Lords are the knife kid at the back of the room in history class when he first discovers a Tool album.
Yeah.
There you go. Honestly, in the words of the great American philosopher Alfred Matthew Yankovic, dare to be stupid.
Yeah.
If you have a campaign and you're just like, oh man, I think my players are going to think that this is dumb, fucking lean into it. Make it dumber.
There's an important point you're kind of dancing around, actually. Stupid doesn't mean silly. Stupid can be serious. Like, so long as everyone's on the same page and willing to treat kind of the ridiculous with the same level of reverence, you get just fantastic comedy. Like, this book is genuinely funny. Kind of fucked up, but genuinely funny at multiple points. And like, I think it's one of those, like, we've kind of talked about this a couple times now through this, like, it commits to the bit. Like, it's one of those ones where, like, this is a perfect example of do not fear committing to the bit. Committing to the bit is occasionally awesome. It is ridiculous and fun.
People can tell when you half-ass something.
Yeah.
Just commit to it. Commit to it.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
How would you use this in a tabletop setting?
All right, so obviously there are two Warhammer 40,000 tabletop RPGs out there. There is Wrath and Glory, which from a play perspective is much more in line with this. You could just play fucking Night Lords with that game. You can play Space Marines in that thing. There's Imperial Maledictum, which we are kind of messing around with, which gives you kind of the human perspective of this. So I think from a kind of using a tabletop RPG perspective in broader sense, it is a interesting kind of case study in how to write numerous different evil characters. You kind of have, in a very kind of the gang's all here perspective, a smattering of kind of every, maybe not sympathetic, but like not just one note villain archetype. Like, I don't particularly like the Exalted as a character, but like for the little bit that they're in the book, they get a surprising amount of detail added to them. You get a sense just by how people view the Exalted, just how kind of alien and corrupt and gone and simultaneously tragic Vandred has become, type of thing. The way every character talks about him, there is a real sadness. And while Vandred is still a Night Lord and therefore warranting of no sympathy, there's again, the book has a surprisingly good kind of sympathy for the devil vibe going with this. Like, through everyone's perspective on Vandred, you see there's an implied fall, there's evil, there's kind of like mourning for who he used to be. And then like on the flip side of that, you have Uzas, who is one of the most interesting written berserkers ever. Like, he basically has no character development in this, but he's like sucking air through his teeth and revving his chainsaws, and you're like, okay, I get who this character's about, and like he's going around saying dumb shit like blood for the blood god, and there's multiple versions of evil, I guess. Like Talos is the like one of the better written sympathetic villains out there I know. Like, don't get me wrong, there are villains in this book, but also Talos is also an ongoing villain. He literally has two slaves, the two central characters, and the book never lets you forget that. But like, it has fun kind of tricking you momentarily into thinking like, maybe Talos isn't so bad. Oh god, he's skinning someone again. And I think kind of from the tabletop RPG perspective, a lot of characters in this are fantastic archetypes of how to kind of model your either kind of lawful evil character, for lack of a better phrase, or just your villains. Like, it's so easy. Like, these are all great examples of like how to have that comically evil character that can still somehow be taken seriously. There's lots of fun little details that kind of like remind you, no, this person is vile and horrible, but like when they're talking, you're kind of swayed by it, or you're kind of like, you lose sight for a split second of the fact that they've like burned and eaten 100 children. And I think kind of like I do it too. Like everyone does this to a certain extent. Writing truly evil characters is hard because you're trying to find the right balance. And again, like it'll take some practice, obviously, but like emulating that balance in this book, these characters genuinely believe what they're saying, even though what they're saying is hypocritical and like misguided and like oftentimes just self-serving and like completely them convincing themselves what they're doing is right. They're still saying it and they still believe it. And I think kind of like people get bogged down the whole idea of like, oh, I have to believe. It's like, no, so long as your character acts like what they believe what they're saying, that's enough with some frequency. And moments of self-doubt are important. Like seeing Talos work through his doubt about what he's doing sells the whole kind of like, no, what I'm doing is the right thing to be doing, even more than just him being like secure in his convictions the entire way through. I think the book also does a really great job of kind of the less is more when it comes to detailed descriptions. There's actually not that much said about what the Covenant of Blood looks like, but like, I suspect you have a pretty specific image of what that ship looks like, both outside and inside.
Yeah, it's kind of tall. It's like this weird, almost like
big
upside down knife thing that like there's a city, but it also looks like the bottom of an iceberg almost.
Yeah.
Or like there's a ship, but it almost looks like the bottom of the iceberg. And like with the settings of Warhammer 40K, it's difficult for me to disassociate that with just the high fantasy settings that I am more familiar with. And so a lot of the more technical aspects of it can seem a little alien to me, just
as they should,
despite the fact that like I could probably figure some shit out. Because like the concept of, I don't know, like the concept of, let's say the Home One from fucking Star Wars, the weird bubble ship that the rebels are flying, like that's already just weird because that's a baguette. That's a space baguette. But the fact that these are now giant ass ships that can house like 1 million people, like how does it not look like a sunfish from from Earth, you know?
Yeah, it's just a giant ass ship.
So you really get to just play with. It was a visual, or just not visual, but like it allowed me to step out of my comfort zone in science fiction, in trying to make sense of what I am imagining, and just letting it just be weird and absolutely nonsensical. Because I look at power armor and juggernaut armor, or sorry, not juggernaut armor, like Terminator armor. Thank you. And I see the fact that those are weirdly proportioned and realize that, oh no, they fit the weirdly proportioned dudes in there with like 4 stomachs, 3 lungs, and like 5 testicles, and like a second brain somewhere perfectly.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And on top of that, they've custom built the ship, not just for these like 8-foot tall behemoths that are roaming around, but also then for the fucking dreadnoughts that hang out with them occasionally, so they can just kind of casually stroll into the deck, like into the main like bridge. It's like, yeah, imagine how big that bridge is. Like we have a concept like bridges on like modern day battleships and stuff like that. Imagine if just someone wearing a tank could like walk in there and be like, yup, I'm here, just hanging out.
I fit through the door that was that was built in order to allow me and my kin to walk in like this.
A lot of criticism gets thrown at 40K for it really not being a sci-fi setting, and
it's science fantasy, whatever.
Yeah, it's science fantasy. Like, it's one of those ones where there's a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, it's just fantasy with a sci-fi veneer. I don't care. I love the kind of 40K science aesthetic where, like, there's like beautiful backwardsness to it. There's just occasional kind of like weird stuff mixed in with super high fantasy or super high kind of technology. They fight a mech at one point. Like, it's just kind of like, yep, it's a mech. Okay. In the same section, they're driving a troop transport, and you're getting a written perspective from the spirit of the tank.
Oh, yeah, I completely fucking forgot about the weapon spirits and how you needed to honor the weapon spirits.
Machine spirits
and stuff. And how literally we're shaman kinging our fucking tanks. The Rhino has like an actual soul inside.
No, so, and like machine spirits are this hotly debated thing where it's like, are they real, are they not? Like, some arguments are they're AI, but also like, we've all had temperamental like cars or something like that. That's what they're also talking about. Like, when Talos is going on about how like his armor's machine spirit's angry, that's just, it needs fucking maintenance. He's so attached to his things that he's given them a whole personality and personification that like they probably don't actually have. Like, oh, my armor's like, my machine spirit's kind of like temperamental. Yeah, because it's made up of like 9 cobbled together armors that somehow still work.
You're fucking kidding me. This entire fucking time I was thinking there was like some Domon Kashu ass like whatever inside like a gun or inside these rocket launcher.
So that being said, there might also be in some cases. It's ambiguous.
Like, because like you could make the argument that Malkarion is a literal machine spirit. Like, yes, that is the one with a body that is like actually visible. But you can't tell me that like there's not an Alphonse Elric ass like fucking soul in like specifically tied to this armor set or whatever the heck. Fuck it, it's 40K. Like, yeah, sure.
No, yeah, and that's kind of like machine spirits are totally a concept you can take for tabletop RPGs. Maybe not exactly as written, but the whole idea of like giving things a supernatural element when it's just like the gear differential on this car is bad just adds a whole fantastic level of mystique and like fun to it, where it's like, I'm assuming you've known someone that had a car only they could drive because like you had to start the car in an exceedingly specific way, right?
I love a shit box. I think shit boxes are, I don't ever want to have a shit box because I don't need that. I don't want a car that I have to use a pair of pliers to start while holding like the fucking radio button and like cranking whatever. But I think that they within themselves are a character.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, that whole dumb ritual you have to do to start your car that requires you to like have your keys 2/3 of the way in and holding the radio power button simultaneously before you start the car. Like, that's the machine spirit shit in the real world at that point.
And you know what? That is delicious details that ultimately add or amount to nothing, but it just flavors the world that you create.
And it's got you sitting there being like, is this gun possessed by a ghost?
There's definitely moments within like the way that we've played Delta Green where we just convince ourselves that we need to do something in order for like something to happen or whatever the heck. Like how baseball players are the most superstitious people in the world. I need to wear this rank ass like hat or t-shirt for the 8th time in a row without washing it in order for my team to fucking win.
I mean, like, in the funniest way possible, like, again, didn't take for tabletop RPGs, Talos literally meets 4 gods and goes, nah, atheism for life. Literally meets 4 gods. Like, take that to D&D for a second, where gods are just as there. No one's ever had that moment where it's like, yeah, the gods are, I just don't give a rat's ass. Like, but no, they're literally real. We can prove they're real. And
like, I literally just watched an episode of DS9 where Kira and Worf are talking with each other, and Kira's like, oh man, I really wish like the wormhole opening and closing was just a sign from the prophets. And Worf's like, actually, I prefer the Klingon beliefs. We killed our gods like a millennia ago. They were absolutely useless. Like, the most throwaway comment, but at the same time, the most world building comment to just solidify like a concept as to how to understand the Klingon even more.
Yeah, like fucking Talos knows a just straight up sorcerer, meets the gods, and is like, nope, I do this my way. No gods, no magic, just good old fashioned power swords and bolters. It's this kind of a mentality where it's like you can take, when people are developing characters, there's like little fun details like that, where it's like, in a setting where the gods are very real, having your characters be like, yeah, I met a god once, and who the fuck cares? It was a god. It wanted something. I was like, fuck off. I don't need you. Like I said, there's more going on with this book than people give it credit for. Yeah, I guess kind of to scale it back a little bit, like some of the way it describes action, some of the kind of like descriptions of it. This book is great with how it describes kind of how things hit. It's very visceral. Like, you're never confused as to what happens to people when they get hit in this book. Like, it is all splatter. It's some good 80s splatter slasher.
Again, the scene in the prison where the prison riot gets mowed down by those miniguns on the ship. I think that was one of the most like succinct way and most, it was like, well, it was so impactful the way that it just talks about how, because they get mowed down, and it still kind of describes the stink of Blackteeth's like breath, along with the stink of the ground meat that was their bodies.
Yeah.
And how like his, like there was like a jaw that's unhinged, or like the top of his head was missing, and the smell of his breath was like bubbling through like the blood that was pooling in the back of his throat.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is a really good passage.
I don't even think it actually says they get shot. It just describes like cheeseburger happening, basically. Like, it never actually says they're getting shot at. It's just like, oh shit, they're getting mowed down. Yeah.
Explain someone getting their arm cut off without using the word cut or sword or anything like about what's actually happening. But like, use details to tell the fact that someone's arm got cut off. Don't just tell them that arm just got cut off.
Like, another good one is like when they're describing what happens when you hit with a power sword, like the fact that it's like, we're not going to say what happens aside for it slices through, but we're going to get really into how like the blood is evaporating as it hits this sword, like it's making hissing sounds, and like that's why Talos loves this weapon, not because it's good, but because the sound it makes when it kills thing is like really cool in his book. I don't think it actually ever says what a power sword does, which is just basically it's a sword covered in lightning that creates a plasma field. But like you understand, it's basically a lightsaber.
So the second book is better than the first, huh?
The second book is really good. I like the first book a lot, though, too. The second book, if you're kind of following a traditional literary kind of explanation of things, it ends with the climax. Like, it ends in a really cool spot, and then the third book is a fine book, but it's also the ending of a trilogy. So it's like, yeah, we have to pay off what has happened, and it very much feels like you'd better fucking have read the first two. The second one, not quite as easy to read by itself, because it definitely references some stuff, but like, and I guess kind of like super spoilers at this point for a quick second or two. The trilogy is ultimately a meditation on the hypocrisy of Conrad Kurze and just how hypocritical the Night Lords are in theory and stuff like that. And it's kind of Talos's journey through that. The first book benefits from being kind of noble Talos. The second book is, you start to see that kind of concept fray some, and the third book is, nah, we're just fucking Night Lords. We are who we are. We're the sons of Conrad Kurze. We get what we're about, if that makes any sense. And I think it's very well written in that regard. Like, I guess kind of like a hint at some of the cool shit in the second book. So, you know, some of those troops they picked up at the end of this?
Yeah.
They picked up a group of Night Lords called Raptors. Raptors are people with jetpacks that have been partially mutated into birds of prey, so that their armor has like fused with them, and they have like literal talons and shit like that. And you get a POV from one of those characters.
What?
And they have their own honor type of thing. Like, they've kind of gone a little bit bestial. They hunt as a pack. Like, they still have that weird Night Lord honor thing going on, but like the helmet doesn't come off anymore because it's fused to their flesh, because they're raptors now. They ain't human anymore. They're not even really Astartes anymore. They are something else.
Is that just some warp shenanigans?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that happened. Okay, so it wasn't just like we're gonna mutate. It's just this happened in the warp. Guess we got to live like this now.
Yeah. And like,
cool.
Imagine the mentality of not just being like, okay, we're gonna live like this. We're going to embrace this. Like, this is what we wanted.
You know what? If I went on a road trip and for whatever reason passing through a tunnel gave me an extra set of arms, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah,
like dream come true.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it.
I mean, like the gods are making good offers. Like the chaos gods come with gifts. They make Talos some pretty good offers, except for Horn, who just says, "Hey, you like killing," and then fucks off. Yeah, no. As a trilogy of books, like maybe we'll wind up reading more of these. Maybe we'll just kind of talk. It sounds like you're going to read probably the other two of these, right?
Yeah.
It might be fun just to talk about at the end of the trilogy or something.
I'm giving myself until like the end of March to see if the LA Public Library picks up the audio book versions of the next two. If not, I'm going to end up purchasing them.
Yeah.
Just because, why the fuck not? This was such a fun read.
Yeah.
If I got a flight or something, I'm just going to go ahead and...
Is this the fanciest book we've read for book club so far? No. Is it damn fun in its own kind of weird, twisted way? Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you don't have to be cerebral with a book club. Sometimes you can just pick up a book and just be like, you know what?
This was a fun for the sake of fun. We've read a lot of heady, themeful books. This one's a nice... What if there was an army of murder Batmans? It's a dumb sense, but what if there was an army of murder Batman?
How would you say this differs in execution towards Kuroda? Kuroda's like one of our firsts, and it's one of those that I actually did kind of like after thinking about it, but it was also just so bad in the way that it was just super dated. Is it because of the fact that it was just kind of dated and just felt like a 90s like montage that was happening?
No. I think kind of we talked about this some back then. There's an inconsistency to it. Like, as insane as the logic of Soul Hunter is, the logic is consistent the entire way through. Talos he gets plot armor every once in a while, but like, he never just kind of randomly powers up. Talos is Talos the entire way through. Septimus is Septimus the entire way through. Octavia has her time to shine at the end where she does the thing, but like it's built up over time where it's like, hey, we have the training montage. We have the you fucking suck at this. We have like, well, it's now or never type of moment to it. And like,
there was evidence in the way that Talos achieved those goals, as opposed to just receiving the bag of arrows that he needed, as well as a medicine bag from the grandma visions in the back of the attic. Gotcha.
I mean, like, it's one of those ones where kind of like in both books, stuff just happens for the plot. I think Crota kind of suffers from the things come out of left field so badly, and where Night Lords kind of pulls off the same stuff but kind of makes it work is that like in the first 10 pages, it's like Talos is special. He gets psychic visions. He's a super soldier, and he's a really good super soldier. Like, he's better than most other super soldiers out there type of thing. And, like, he's surrounded by other equally good super soldiers.
Okay.
Everything they're doing is normal for them. Everyone around them's going, what the hell's going on? But, like, as far as our most powerful characters are concerned, it's just like, oh, it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's kind of a consistent power scaling throughout, and, like, I would kind of equate like the Crota fight to the Titan fight that happens in this, and they're both equally kind of ridiculously overpowered kind of thing. Like, by all measure, the Titan should beat the Night Lords, but because it's been established that the Night Lords cheat, lie, and like do underhanded tactics and like are not above anything to win, when it's like, yeah, we did this really stupid thing and it worked, you're like, I can see that makes sense. Where in Crota, it's like, so the magic arrows revealed themselves in a chest in the attic in the house that you just happen to live in.
From the spirit of your dead grandmother that like got that in the magic amulet you found in the river.
Yeah. There's less contrivance, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like,
I see.
Yeah.
Control your Deus Ex Machinas. If you got one, like, it's like Chekhov's gun. Like, if you got a Deus Ex Machina, like, hint at it a little bit, just like soften the blow, maybe.
Oh, I think we even talked about this. Like, if in the book in Crota, the dude had killed the dude had killed Dakota with the necklace. We're like, okay, that makes sense. It's the fact that, like, it's a MacGuffin to reveal the arrows that's the problem. There is no Deus Ex Machina in Night Lords. It's all Deus Ex Machina, kind of, but also, like, when from the jump, it's like, they're fucking super soldiers. They do super soldier shit. You just kind of accept it. It makes logical sense, and it continues. He met 4 gods and was like, nah. And you're like, okay, cool. So gods exist, and they can be turned down. And, like, Reuven's apparently a sorcerer who has cultists that, like, were supposed to keep Talos in the trance longer, but, like, that didn't work out because Talos has such strong will. And you're like, yeah, that tracks, I guess.
He's the soul hunter. Of course.
He's the soul hunter. Yeah. You don't know how stupid a title that is until that point. This is gonna sound kind of cheesy. It establishes him as special, and then, like, is like, yeah, he's special. He's better than the rest of these Night Lords. Not significantly so, but, like, he is better than. And then Malkarian shows up and is like, why am I alive? Let me die, god damn it.
And they're friends.
Yeah, and they're buddies. There is a beautiful consistency to the Night Lords that, like, everything is ridiculous, so therefore nothing is ridiculous. And, like, when you establish early on just the amount of beating a Night Lord can take, and it's just kind of like, yeah, my face may be split open, I might be missing an arm right now, but, like, that's normal for us. It lets you do ridiculous things. Like, by the time you get Malkarian waking up from the dead in his chapel robot throne thing, aka Dreadnought, you're just kind of like, yeah, this tracks. Some Space Marines come back from the dead in giant robots, because that's cool. And all the pomp and circumstance makes sense, too. You're like, yes, of course these backwards-ass people are like, we must do the ritual of awakening. What is that? 1 part science, 1 part weird religious ceremony. Which is the one actually doing something? We honestly don't know. The ship's chief mechanic is also kind of a spiritual figure.
They're rituals.
Yeah. My armor interface ports hurt, so therefore I need to put the sacred oils and unguents on it to, like, soothe that, not just clean them. That'd be the simple sense. No. We have to do the ritual of maintenance. And there's been some pictures floating around, some weird stuff coming out because people are getting weirder these days. But, like, imagine if, like, in your mind, you didn't think of, like, basic car maintenance as, like, car maintenance, but, like, the sacred ritual of engine renewal. The oil change is not the oil change. It's the bleeding of the eternal lubricant of my Ford Prius, or, yeah, my Toyota Prius. We must bleed it dry so that we replace it with sacred oils so that it may continue to serve in its ongoing crusade against high gas mileage. I don't fucking know, but, like, fun recontextualization of it.
My transmission's going out. I must have angered the car.
Yeah, well, what did you do to piss off your car? What did you do wrong? Have you honored thy car? No. I've always found the Warhammer perspective, both in fantasy and 40K, to be kind of a fun, oddly spiritual look at, like, hey, here's some dumb stuff you can do with sci-fi. Like, are machine spirits real? We don't know, but, like, we've all known it's from the temperamental car, and, like, is the car possessed by a ghost? But only that dude can drive it, and that makes it a machine spirit in this setting, so, like, and people just kind of go with that. Like, in a setting where simultaneously of people being like, superstitions are stupid, but also, like, I need to bathe my machine gun in sacred oils that are probably just fucking gun oil. It's all about perspective at that point. I think kind of, it's easy to say kind of the perspective of 40K is, like, ridiculous and over the top, but, like, think about that perspective kind of applied to other fantasy stuff. Like, Arcane, I think, is super popular because it does something similar, where it's about, like, okay, magic is just fucking energy. What if we were finding a way to tap into that energy? And it kind of goes back to my whole, like, Eldritch is this radiation type of thing, where it's like, energy is not inherently dangerous, but, like, bad things happen when you use it wrong, and, like, your limited understanding of this makes you think, like, oh god, we've angered the spirit realm, but no, it's just, hey, your reactor's leaking. And that's bad, except in this setting that the reactor may actually be leaking into hell, because that's, of course, a thing. I've probably belabored this enough and defended Night Lords more than it probably, or Soul Hunter more than it probably deserves, but hopefully you all had fun with this. It appears Jad had a lot more fun than he was expecting to have with this. I genuinely enjoyed the trilogy.
I'm so mad.
I got you on this one.
So mad.
Got ya. Conrad Kurze is pretty cool, ain't he, Jad? Especially his kids.
I don't want to talk. I don't like. It's one of those things where it's like I want to talk about it, but not with anybody else. My coworkers play 40K. I don't want to talk to them about fucking 40K.
Yeah, they don't get Night Lords like you do now. You've read the lore. You understand the Night Lords are so cool, but so stupid. I believe that is it for Soul Hunter. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We're going to go back to our more traditional book takes on this one. This is the danger of a Charlie pick, though. You get a fucking Night Lords novel thrown in every once in a while. But our next one is The Ballad of Black Tom, a cast favorite.
I am so excited to reread The Ballad of Black Tom. It's actually not that long. It's
short. Yeah, it's a novella.
Yeah, it's a novella. The Ballad of Black Tom is written by Victor Laval. He is a horror author. Ballad of Black Tom is kind of based off of a H.P. Lovecraft short story. Really, really phenomenal reimagining of that short story.
Yeah, it's continuing the good work of taking H.P. Lovecraft's work and making it better in some way. Like it's good. It's in some of that negative modifier, like it's taking the mythos and doing things with it. It does a cool thing with the mythos, but it's more traditional.
It's so fucking smart.
Yeah,
it's such a fucking smart book.
I will say that kind of, if you're looking for potentially an added perspective, nuance, and maybe I'll make an effort of doing this before this. This book is pitched as kind of revisiting of the H.P. Lovecraft story, the horror at Red Hook, from the perspective of a black man, who's the main kind of central protagonist of the book. It is a very good, in my perspective, at least in my opinion, reimagining of, I don't want to say one of H.P. Lovecraft's weaker stories, but definitely not like my favorite from that one's perspective. I think that this does a better job of telling the same story, and it's more interesting. It also benefits from being essentially a reimagining of the same story, so you have hindsight and whatnot and like modern sensibilities. But yeah, much shorter book than everything else we've read so far, I think. It's a quick real read. It's fun. The audiobook for it's pretty great, at least the ones that we've already listened to. This is a book me and Jed have both read before. Typically try and at least pick something that one of us hasn't read, but we are big fans of this, and it's time to get back to something eldritch, and this is a great place to do it. We hope you enjoyed Soul Hunter, but also we hope you enjoy The Ballad of Black Tom.
If you also read Ballad of Black Tom along with us, feel free to send us any questions or comments into our email. We would love to read some viewer mail as we kind of go along. I know this is book club. It's just two of us just kind of either harping or just praising books. With this one, we just kept gushing about how stupid the shadow. I keep saying shadow lords. The night lords are. But like, if you guys have any kind of perspectives that you want to add, I think that'd be cool as hell.
Well, yeah, send them in. But I do think that about does it on this one. Anything profound to say about the Night Lords or Soul Hunter before we close this out? I keep wanting to call it the Night Lords trilogy. It's just fucking Soul Hunter. We've not read the rest of the books. Maybe we'll do a kind of full trilogy thing sometime down the line, because I really want to know what you think of the trilogy. It goes places.
Octavia is my favorite character in this book.
What if I tell you they add a medic character eventually?
A medic character?
A Space Marine medic.
Isn't
Talos was a medic.
Wasn't he an apothecary?
What if I told you they add one that's actively still practicing medicine?
I don't know. Is that person a spunky woman with a third eye?
No.
Does she have the same vibes as a spunky woman with a third eye?
It's a Space Marine. Like,
okay,
no female Space Marines, unfortunately. Like, this is, but like, imagine a character that creeps the Night Lords out.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
He's in the second book.
At some point in time, I think it'll just be like another 6 months or something like that. We'll just go ahead and just say like, all right, we're continuing the fucking Night Lords trilogy. Here we go. The sequel to the previous episode of podcast.
You get to wear Terminator armor in the third book. It's really cool.
I had to take a look at Terminator armor just so I can get a solid visual understanding. And literally all it does is
it's so stupid.
You just have shoulders. You have giga shoulders.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
It's like, what's the difference between power armor and Terminator armor?
It's bigger.
Your triceps are 20 times larger. That's it.
It's bigger.
You have no neck.
Yeah.
Big back, no neck.
as God intended for the perfect armor. I'm Charlie. They've been Jad. We hope you enjoyed Soul Hunter. We obviously did. Next book club will be a little more serious and a little less goofy, we promise. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah.
Thanks much. Happy reading.
Jad.
Charlie.